Anytime now.
Yeah, at the moment I see a frozen beard.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. let the fun commence. All right, we've got some fabulous movies to watch tonight, and I will, as usual, issue the blanket apology for anything you may view. We've got a couple that are requested by viewers. First of which is top 10 proofs NASA cannot leave low Earth orbit. That is yes.
Sorry, not to interrupt. Can anybody else see? Or was I not supposed to say that?
No. There'll be no saying that. Cut it. That's crazy talk. Hold on one second. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we were just all going to stare at the pug and pretended like
you have to look at the outside video. Here, I'll give you the link.
It's a matter. No. You do not. You should.
It's easier.
You should have it in the Hangouts there. Let me know when you got it.
It's so much easier.
Okay, got it.
All right, everybody should have the view. Excellent. Right. Where was I? Yes. Top 10 proofs NASA cannot leave low Earth orbit by Richie from Boston, and that was requested by Spacey Nerd for 42123. And well, let's see how that goes, shall we? Alrighty. Here we go. Everyone, I assume everyone knows the procedures by now. We'll play the videos. If anything so just outlandishly stupid comes up that it requires a response, just yell drink. We'll stop the video, and the person that called drink first, everyone else just kind of yield to that person. You can make their comments. When that person has concluded their comments, anyone else can, volunteer to make theirs.
Drink.
Already? All right, you're up.
Okay, having to explain the drink rules.
There might be some new people who don't know what it's all about.
Say the drink rules. Come on, people. Have a drink. That's all we need.
There's the first drink of the night. Nicely done. All right. Here's the top 10 proofs NASA cannot ever leave low Earth orbit. Here we go. I'm sure Spyglass has nothing to say about this.
Okay, so here it is, 2017, and NASA just put out this video called Space Station Upgrades. Take a look at that. Look at that. Space Station. We're in outer space. Okay, that's great. That's great. Look at that. Floating around in an underground swimming pool, so forth and so on. But I'm going to show you some real proofs that you need to answer because NASA surely cannot, or they refuse to. One of the two. But I got to ask one thing. How is it a video about the moon can get almost 500,000 views, and there's so many people that go over there that spend their time watching this stupid video, but they also spend the time to leave comments, but they never want to leave any proof? Well, here's some questions that really need to be answered because it makes absolutely no sense. Now, let's be real, because they're not just fooling us. They're fooling you too. You can continue moving forward in life believing that we went through outer space and that the moon's going around the Earth and the Earth's going around the sun and we're all barreling through the atmosphere at ridiculous speeds, but it's not true. Okay. And they tell us that very often. Look at this little piece from Harvard right here and tell me what you see. Now, let's start with Harvard real quick. This is Harvard's own web.
Yes?
Sorry, I'm a little bit late to the game here tonight. Apparently, I had to update my web browser once again.
No problem, Andy. Welcome.
What's with the ridiculous speed thing? I mean, one rotation per day is, really slow.
Yeah, agreed.
Once again, they don't understand the concept of scale.
That does seem to be a common failing.
Naturally, It always drives me insane, this absurd amount of speed. And how long has it been since we were last in this place in the Milky Way? Pretty sure dinosaurs were around. That's pretty slow.
The galaxy takes about, I think, 400 million years to rotate.
Yeah, pretty slow.
In January is much faster.
All right. Shall we move on?
Sorry, just I get tired of the time scale, or not time scale, the lack of understanding of momentum and speed.
Yeah, but okay, then no Jaredism videos. He's not real big on scale.
Does anyone actually count of whether or not he actually does put up the top 10 reasons why NASA actually isn't in beyond low Earth orbit? Just so anyway, because I have no intention of writing that down personally. Is anyone going to keep?
That is not a bad idea. Make sure he actually counts out 10. All right.
Yeah, I'll pull up a notepad, type it up.
All right. Very good. Okay, moving on then.
Every time top 10, by God, he's better doing top 10.
He did promise us 10. I agree. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Website. See, Harvard Solar Engineering Research Program launches now in 2017. But let's take a look at the picture from outer space. Do you notice anything odd about the horizon? Just real quick. That's their own footage, but I digress.
Okay.
How is that outer space? That doesn't even look like it's that high.
I was going to say,
what is it considered to be outer space?
Fraction above him. It's clearly not outer space. Not even close.
Yeah, what is he considered to be outer space?
More like it's Carmen line airplane.
Carmen line's 62 and a half miles above us. That's not 62 miles straight up.
No, in the top of this, there appears to be clouds above where this is like out an airplane.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, this is probably like 30,000 feet.
I would think it may very well be from one of their airplanes doing one of their science experiments. Maybe they are connected by satellite for some kind of a feed, but I'd love to know the provenance of the video that he's about to show to find out whether it means even slightly of what it thinks it does, because yeah, it doesn't look at all like I could see somebody taking a shot up in space, but the problem is when you're that high up in the orbit, everything looks flat, and we're seeing bumpy mountains. So yes, they're really close. They are not up in space.
Actually, when you just should have said when you're that high, everything's flat. You're a flat earther when they're that high. They're high all the time. That's why they think it's flat.
Indeed.
I think you globeheads are dodging the question. He asked a very hard-hitting question: do you notice something weird about the horizon?
Yes, you can't see it because of this cloud cover.
I studied something weird about the horizon as one of my college courses.
Yeah, how is that a horizon? I mean, does he not understand the difference between a horizon and like a thermal layer of cloud where you have like the top of a cloud there? I mean, I don't see the horizon.
No.
Okay. Hold on. Let me Google that real quick.
Horizon to be seen whatsoever.
I guess we've all got the answer wrong. He's going to reveal to us something stunning.
You think?
By the way, yeah, I mean, there's something about the horizon. Is that a horror film or something for flat earthers?
Well, let's see what he has to say then. Here we go.
A comedy on Fox, something about the horizon.
Moving on.
Here's some more video from Harvard, which is from NASA. But do you notice anything strange in this picture? You see the sun coming up way over there, and you see the Earth right here? This is Harvard putting it right in your face. Just look at this real quick. I'm not going to say anything like flat Earth or globe Earth or anything, but look what you're seeing right now on Harvard's website from NASA. One more time. Look at this.
All right.
What looked like sunrise to me.
It did. What are we supposed to be noticing that's unusual? Did anyone detect?
I'm still analyzing it. What's the problem here? What is he claiming the problem is? He's just saying, hey, here, look.
He doesn't know. He's assuming that because it kind of looks flattish to him, without giving a provenance as to what the camera angle was, where it was taken, what lenses that were used, all the little things to determine what's going on here. He takes a blurry picture that he picks off of the video, and he decides, oh, it is self-evidently a problem because he can't see anything different than that from where his head is located down in his ass.
Aha.
Yeah,
If you rewind the video, you can see that woman is clearly wearing white after Labor Day, and I think that's his biggest objection.
I was going to say, if she works at NASA, I wouldn't mind her putting it in my face.
All right. All right. Now, we don't need to back it up and watch that sunrise again, do we?
We're all agreed that the fellow is prone to vague rhetoricalizing. But he says, oh, what do you see? Without actually him telling us what it is that we're supposed to be seeing that's supposed to be a problem.
Indeed. I mean, it all seemed perfectly normal to me so far, unless he discloses. But then again, we thought he was going to disclose something last time with the clouds obscuring the horizon. We thought he was going to disclose something, but he did not. He switched to this.
Has he already done 2 of his top 10s? The first one being that there's a picture of a mountain that he thinks is from space, and number 2 is the sunrise where they're obviously dissolving from one picture to another in a circumstance that we don't know. Is this already number 2 of his top 10?
I didn't even know we get to 1 yet.
I haven't heard an actual.
Well, I think this might be number 2.
Is it?
Look, you see something weird here?
Tell you what, I will keep.
Number 2.
I don't know.
The view from the mountain was number 1.
All right, then you know what? I'll do those. And whoever else was keeping track of what seems to be actual points, continue doing what you're doing, and we'll see which one. If we have 500 of these, we'll know this is just... Well, let's see. Here we go. I'm counting these as 2. Everybody else is probably thinking we haven't gotten to 1 point yet, and they'd be right. Okay.
Although because neither one of them is actually a point, adding them up still is 0.
Exactly. No assertions been
let's
made.
keep going.
All right, here we go.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Look at that. That's weird.
Yes.
Let's slow it down for the skeptics.
Okay.
Once again, Harvard.
Okay.
Through DC. Do you see the sun coming up over the Earth?
Yes, it does that.
Wow, that's queer, huh?
No.
So he's amazed by sunrise.
We know the spherical Earth is gay.
Now, I'm just saying, I think there may be some lag on my screen because what I'm looking at appears to be gay. So I'm just saying.
No, that's a Seth.
Ah.
Are you doing Seth? I don't know. Really, how does he get away with even saying this? Harvard? This is NASA, surely, that's put the space stuff up.
Well, again, you'll notice that the ones in all the videos previously I've seen, independent of which Nimrod it is, they don't really delve into the provenance of where they're getting their stuff from an internet site, from the official site. What's the circumstances of it and the details? They're just looking at the surface image. Oh, this is a problem. And what it is that's supposed to be a problem. Is it because it's purple? Sun is too small? Is it because we're seeing Albania as opposed to what? In other words, he never tells you what it is we're supposed to be having as a problem. I guess it's because the Earth is looking flat there, because it looks flat to him, because he pays no attention to the scale.
That may have been his point. I just wish he would have said that if that was his point.
He's also expanding the conspiracy now, because first of all it was just NASA and some woman at NASA particularly, and now it seems to be Harvard and some guy at NASA. Now I've accepted I'll have the woman put it in my face, but I'm not so sure about this guy from Harvard. So can we continue?
Yes, we will do so.
How much in my face this guy?
The guy from Harvard, yes.
All right, guy from Harvard is moving on.
Indeed. Okay, so real quick, let's listen to the first landing on the moon, July 20th, 1969. Well, maybe it's not the first, but let's listen to the moon landing, July 20th, 1969. Let's listen to them as he's talking back and forth to Houston as he's landing on the moon.
There was that one in 1925 that we all forgot about.
Hello, Eagle Houston, we're standing by, over.
Wow.
Eagle Houston, we see you on the steerable, over. Roger, Eagle, done dot. Roger, how does it look? The Eagle has wings. Roger.
The Eagle has wings.
And they knew
On
how
its
to kill
own
beaks
now,
back then.
but with Columbia near at hand, it coasted
I'll
around to the
never not
backside
be
of the moon.
awed at
And
the
there, while out
amazing
of direct
things that
communication
actual
with the
film
Earth,
shows
it
as
fired its
opposed to
engine to slow its descent to a
digital
touchdown on the
imagery.
near side of the moon. Collins in Columbia continued in orbit, awaiting their return.
All right. Better make a point this time.
Yeah.
Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro. Go. Fido. Go. Guidance. Go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Ecom. Go. Surgeon. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're go for landing, over. Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. You're looking great. How you doing, Control? We look good here, Fido. How about you, Telcom? Go. Guidance, you happy? Go. Fido. Go. 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet. Into the ag. 47 degrees. Roger. 37 degrees.
He's shitting
Still
himself.
looking very good. Your go. Stop alarm. 1201. 1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. 1201 alarm. Same type, we're go, flight. Okay, we're go. We're go, same type, we're go.
Altitude 1,600.
Eagle looking great. Roger, 1202, we copy it.
Filler.
Dude, say something.
Really? This is
You
filler.
Down to 23.
Rob, this is
What
actually
is
fun.
so hilarious about this?
Quite
540 feet down at 15.
history.
1050
This is-
feet down at 4.
Listen, I love this footage. This footage is amazing. But you can't just show this footage without commentary and expect to make a point.
11 forward, coming down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down.
Fuel. Oh, almost. I don't have enough
100
fuel to
feet,
take off.
3.5 down. 9 forward.
Okay.
875
I'm late.
feet.
I'm sorry.
Guys looking good.
You
Down and
can
out.
when your entire argument is, look at this picture, I don't believe it.
Oh,
What, is he trying to claim that's CGI or what? What's
we don't-
his argument here?
We don't know. It's got to be coming up soon because they're going to land. And Cara, welcome. Glad you made it. But it's coming to the end. It's going to land. Hopefully he's going to say something, and it's not going to be there. See, like for the last two. Here, he's got to say something this time.
Forward. 60 seconds. Lights on. Forward. Forward. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. 4 forward, drifting to the right a little. 30 seconds. Forward. Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
Okay.
Copy you down, Eagle.
Yeah, man, that was the one. They had to fly over a crater, and that extended the fuel
Tranquility
window.
base here. The Eagle
Those
has
guys
landed.
balls.
And look at that, huh?
Okay.
Not only did it land
Right.
perfectly upright,
Call for drinks
Called
there.
it a couple of times earlier. It might not necessarily be a drink to what it is that he's showing, but a drink to recognizing. Can you imagine how belligerent and ape shit flat earthers would go if instead of go for landing, it was abort, abort, abort?
Where the Eagle has crashed?
Yeah.
I love the
anything else other than, hey, we did
be
something
landing
awesome.
vertically.
Is it? And
That he doesn't understand how things falling in a gravitational frame without an atmosphere behave. And then the other, it's as if he were to say, I bought this bowl of petunias at NASA, and he puts it down in front of you and goes, see, look at that. Do you see it?
so far.
Be understanding why it's relevant.
Well, still, we're not off at a scene yet. He may actually make an assertion. All right, here we
Guys,
go.
even though apparently the moon's moving and the spaceship's moving, but it somehow
Jesus.
set itself down. But the one little thing NASA can't really explain is
Yes.
how come we couldn't hear the astronaut because he was on top of a rocket engine? They forgot to include the rocket engine in their little video.
Okay, anybody want to call drink on that?
Thrusters.
Okay. Did anyone call drink?
Drink, Steve.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, the rocket engines are what get them into orbit. After that point, they're using thrusters for movement. They don't have big rocket engines on the lunar module.
Indeed, and any firing that does occur, since you have you're not hearing the sound from that. All you're getting would be vibration through the frame.
The module itself.
Yeah, so that's okay.
And remember, they only hear the "we've landed" part after they've like landed. It's all from when they're coming down, in which they're not firing their engines at all.
Does you think they're continually firing thrusters the entire time? I mean, the burn for a thruster is pretty quickly.
Remember, he probably thinks maybe that rockets don't operate in a vacuum. I don't know what all's knocking around in this guy's head.
All right. Well, the one thing that is,
I mean, how much actual thrust would it take to carry an entire Saturn V off of Earth and then into lunar orbit, as opposed to just getting off of Earth and then jettisoning it all so that you could get into lunar orbit?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
You've got.
Oh, go ahead, RJ. Sorry.
Coleman transfer orbits. Once you basically knock the ball, you're just running on gravity. You're not running your engines at all, and you only have to worry about it when you finally get into orbit. In fact, even in getting into the orbit part, one of the reasons why they don't have to carry as much fuel as they would.
RJ, I recognize that from what this guy's saying with, did you hear the rockets? Like, what is he expecting? A full-blown Saturn V?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like an orbital ATK to just suddenly meet up with them? Obviously, orbital. He's
thinking you're watching an old science fiction movie, and he doesn't understand
expecting
that.
Well, the one thing that is determined is, see, that was the one question, well, a question, I guess, that NASA cannot answer. You realize that each of you basically just answered his question.
So we're as brilliant as NASA scientists.
That's what he's saying. He is asserting.
Awesome. Yay!
That's pretty damn impressive.
For
All right.
this guy's purposes, a doormat is going to be more sophisticated than he is, and so even it could answer the questions.
All right, here we go. That was, and I listed that as number 3. Here we go.
Video cast. Do you see what I'm saying? Can anybody explain that? No? Okay, great. Let's move on. Everybody loves to roll out people like Michio Kaku or Neil deGrasse Tyson whenever there's any type of doubt about the moon landing, the flags, what the flags were made out of, the crater that's not there from the lander that should surely be there, because this is representative. See these large nozzles? That's a rocket engine. It's not a jet engine. It's not an engine like in a car. It's not an engine like in a boat. It's a rocket engine. And this is what a rocket looks like, going up or landing, no matter what. But this is...
Okay. Yeah, RJ, that was you, right?
Moly, here is where he is getting off of the rails. That if this Nimrod doesn't know that the amount of fuel required to move a 40-story rocket off of the Earth against terrestrial gravitation, fighting an atmosphere, is not the same as the amount of fuel required to gently slow down a very thin thing made of tin foil. The damn thing is so lightweight that there's a relatively limited amount of fuel required, and it's fighting, which is 1/6. Does this guy perform any of the calculations to figure how much that is? Not, because he's just looking at the films and it looks fishy to him.
I say we give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he did the calculation.
You think? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, you're forgiving, Seth. You're really forgiving.
I just looked it up. There's the descent propulsion system and the ascent. The ascent propulsion system only has 3,500 pounds of force. That's only 16 kilonewtons of thrust. That's not a hell of a lot.
Doesn't need it, of course, because it's just slowing the thing down. I'm not exactly sure off my memory as to how quickly it's moving when it's finally coming down, but it has a lower gravitation to work with. And apparently this guy thinks that the same amount of fuel is required to have a great big blasty thing, that the whole Saturn V is moving. Remember, how small the lunar module is up on top of the rocket? If anyone's ever built a rocket of the Apollo 11 thing, that little itty bitty tiny little thing that you have stuck in the capsule up on the top is the lunar module. It's so small, it's not much bigger than the nozzle of the rocket down below.
Well, to give you a comparison between the difference between a thrust on the ascent propulsion system as compared to the Saturn V, the ascent system was 16 kilonewtons, but a Saturn V, their engines have a thrust of in a vacuum. Let's see here, what was this? I just found it. One sec. I lost it. Never mind. So I can find it again.
Should we just say lots while you're looking?
The fuel pumps on Apollo 11 are so powerful that the entire Queen engine system that moves a ship that's 1,000 feet long aren't powerful enough to do the Apollo 11 rocket.
35,000 kilonewtons as compared to 16,000. Significant amount of difference.
All right. Well, you're all smarter than NASA. Kick ass. Nicely done. Here we go.
What they present us with. And it looks like nothing. It looks exactly like what it is. It's a sound stage. It's an absolute sound stage. And yes, it's a great, big, giant conspiracy, without a doubt. If a rocket just landed there, there would be a dune all the way around it. A crater, we'd call it. But I digress for now.
As who?
No, it's not that much thrust.
No, and
the propulsion system, it wasn't that much thrust either.
No,
Aside from the thrusters, has this guy actually ever sat down and examined original slides or any negatives for the fact and actually done any research into whether or not he's looking at a purposefully doctored image or a real image?
And remember something else. What happens in a thing where you're using a rocket? They're starting the thrust well above the lunar surface, and as they continue to thrust, the ship is slowing down, which is why it's not slamming into the moon at a great speed. So by definition, there is less and less and less stuff there to blow dust away by the time it gets down to the ground, because by the time the thrusting halo gets anywhere close to where they're landing on the ground, they're not moving very fast, which is why they don't go whiplash when they hit the moon.
Yeah, I was actually mostly going towards the obvious degradation that happens when you repetitively scan photos onto a computer and you just lose quality, and then you download them and upload them and download them and upload them, and eventually you don't actually have a picture, you just have a crappy ass JPEG.
Yeah, and
you don't even have a picture anymore at a certain point.
I think you're right. That one does look fake. I mean,
yeah,
personally, that one looks fake to me.
Yeah, I don't. You know, first of all, I don't know if this was actually. This looks like something out of a movie to me.
Yeah, this doesn't actually look like any photography I've ever seen from any Apollo mission.
Yeah, this looks like something out of a movie. I don't think this was even one of the original movie. This isn't an actual photo from the moon. I think this is actually fake myself, but.
But I have seen that red circle on other things, on other pictures before.
All right, so perhaps the circle is real.
That might be real.
The circle is real.
The circle is real. Yeah, it's actually there.
Okay. All right. Let us move on.
I mean, what are those two things in the corner there? There's two Earths, Earth, Moon, another moon, or what's those two things supposed to be in the corner?
Stage lights on the set. I'd be willing to bet they're going to. He thinks they're stage
They're
lights.
lens flare.
I thought that was Proxima A and Proxima B.
No, that's a football stadium lighting. They're having a game of American football over there.
I thought he was on
Exo. It's so hilarious because we don't need the Apollo moon landing to prove the Earth is not flat. We need anything NASA has ever done to show that the Earth is a sphere. It's a complete irrelevancy. Let us hypothesize that NASA has faked all of the moon landings because they wanted to cheat everybody and make the Russians look bad. It doesn't make the evidence of the spherical Earth go away.
That is true. All righty. Well, Let's see what we have next. I gather this is all still part of number 3. So here we go.
Talk about going to the moon over
think
and
it's more
over
number
and over.
2.
But first, let's listen to a scientist and what they actually really say to people in their own special language.
Now, basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it is produced by the modal interaction of magneto-reluctance and capacitive directons.
What the frick?
Okay, all right. Okay. Do we really
Simos,
even need to?
Is this jungle jargon on? Is this...
all of the last sentence, especially the end part of the sentence, made little sense.
He has to be
less sense than the first part of the sentence, which was the premise for such an illogical argument.
And nobody explains it this way. I mean, come on.
He has to be doing
That's
this
a
as a parody.
Real scientist. Because
yeah, it's completely a parody. But I mean, is this guy too stupid to know if this is a parody, or is he actually doesn't care?
I'm so
you
glad.
just got it. The guy's too stupid to know that it's a parody.
Is it? I mean, is that really I don't know who the guy who made this video, so I don't know if he's like one of those people that are just really, really, really that stupid, or he just doesn't care enough and he just wants to screw people by being
Sounding like gibberish to me. I have no idea what the guy's talking about, and I'm not all that
axial modal force. Didn't you hear him?
I mean, I love the idea of the reluctance of the magneto.
The reluctance of the magneto.
Yeah, I think that's just.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a discourse on the X-Men and Magneto from the X-Men. I think
it could. I can only describe that as word salad, and normally I would say he has to know it's a parody, and at the end of it, he's going to say, "Yes, that's how they talk." But I got a feeling he's not. Okay.
Why don't we get Trim Pearson in here? Maybe he can translate for us.
You think that can be?
Can someone find what this video's from? Can we get like a word check and find out what that's from?
It's got to be done. Hilarious.
And find out what it is. I know there's a long tradition in particularly parodying advertisements. It was very popular in the 1940s for people to do pretend advertisements for various toothpastes and other kind of stuff, where they would have a pretend scientist pseudoscientific gibberish, and that's exactly what this kind of stuff sounds like.
I mean, it's not, the guy's not like making up these words. I'm just not sure. Maybe I need to hear it again. I mean, there is a certain things like permeability and magnetic reluctance, magnetic impedance. I know what these words mean.
Just not in that order.
Well, maybe I just didn't. Yeah, it's not in that order. I mean, it just, I don't know. Just sound. I don't know why he was throwing all those things out there.
I'm very suspicious about this.
Would you like to hear it again?
Looks like an old film in the 1960s to boot. So yeah, again, here is another bit of where the guy is tossing stuff at us that he gives no provenance for it. We don't know who it was, where he got it, under what circumstances it was done. He just is throwing it at us as though it's supposed to be self-evidently what he claims it is, when we don't know that he even knows what it is.
On the background, there's like hydrocarbons or something. What's hydrocarbons have to do with magnetic reluctance?
In their own special language.
Now, basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it is produced by the modal interaction of magneto-reluctance and...
Modal reaction of magneto...
Really?
Well, no, it sounds like he's actually talking about something that was actually for a submarine design. There was a submarine, remember the Hunt for October, used something called magnetomotive force, MMF. That sounds like what he's talking about there to me.
We'll let him go.
So it might actually be a little more of a legit than you think, but it has to do with a design for doing when you have a very highly magnetic fluid in a magnetic field, it produces a propulsion, it produces a thrust, and that's the concept behind Hunt for Red October. It's electromagnetic force that's being generated because you have a very high magnetic field.
Why is he bringing this up? Why does it have anything to do with anything?
I have no idea. Well, it's just another way to produce thrust.
Yes, on the assumption that this is real.
Why he is bringing it up?
I'm questioning.
Seems to argue that because scientists use jargon, that therefore everything they say that has jargon in it doesn't mean anything, and he is allowed to be correct because he doesn't use jargon.
It's a bunch of words that actually the words, like I said, do things. The way he's thrown them together just make absolutely no sense.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm having a hard time believing this is real. Tell you what, after
Somebody
Real world,
I know. I totally
some
think
facts.
I totally think it's bullshit. Obviously, I think it's fake video, but I mean, the words themselves do have. It's not making up words.
right,
He's just throwing
I
them together in
agree.
all different fucking stupid ways.
I would tend to agree. All right, definitely drink worthy.
Soundly found the full unedited video.
Oh, do
And,
we got? What's the video?
It like he threw it up in chat.
All I see is a guy with a beard with snow on it for the last 5 minutes.
He shows this long,
Stuck.
overly long segment of the moon landing, and then an overly short section of this.
Oh,
I'm fascinated with the weird circumstances as to why the guy is picking the segment purposes that he's trying to do with stuff.
Yeah, turbo and what is it called? Encabulator. Yeah, so like he has a catalytic converter. Catalytic converter is a real thing. There is such a thing called a catalytic converter, obviously. Yeah. So it's just a bunch of words that actually probably do exist, obviously, but just thrown in a way that just make no sense whatsoever.
But if you listen to it,
flux capacitor, let me know.
No, it doesn't even get that grounded. If you listen to it, they've also transcribed it here in the comments, and it just gets ridiculous.
Okay.
So it is in fact a gibberish.
Oh yeah, no doubt it's gibberish. I mean, but I'm just saying that these words, I don't think he's making up words per se. At least the words that he used are not fake words. It's just where he's throwing them together to sound completely bullshittery.
I would.
Yeah,
surely you can't be serious.
I am hoping against all hope that this is a real video. That at some point in time, somebody got like a grant from the government by just stringing together nonsense words.
He may not be making up words, but Steve is, and that's not bullshittery.
No, like I said, there's magnetic reluctance. It's the same unit of measurement that impedance has for a coil, which is a measure called a Henry's. I know that because that's my middle name. So I know Henry's. But yeah, that is a legitimate thing.
Yeah, but is like a dingle arm a thing?
No.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I'm hitting play. Here we go.
Capacitive directons.
Capacitive directons. Okay. All right.
Don't know what that is.
Hey, listen, I wasn't just being crude. Okay, I need people to know that I'm literally reading from the transcription from this video. Okay. This is amazing.
It sounds.
I've got it pulled up now. The prefabulated amulite surmounted by malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two superving bearings were in the direct line with the parametric fan. The later consisted of 6 hydrocarbon Marzol's vanes so fitted that the ambulifactionate lunar wave shaft with side fumbling was effectively prevented. That's pure genius. Actually.
Oh, that's now it's all clear.
Yeah, it's quite obvious. Yeah, patent pending.
I'm going to pay Michael Ironside to read this for me, and then I'm just going to go to sleep to sounds of this at night. This whole thing may be the most genius thing ever committed to pain.
This is brilliant, actually. I'm reading this now. This is actually really good.
Guys, hold on a second. Stop. Everybody stop. Okay. He's the video is about. So I mean, if you just like, who said lunar wave beam?
Me.
Right.
That's a lunar wave.
I looked up that phrase, and apparently the turbo encapsulator is an engineering in joke. The whole thing that he's saying is an engineering in joke. It's a made up thing that there's like papers online because it's just garbage jargon.
This reminds me of something very similar. There's a type of amplifier that they had been going on forever about. It doesn't exactly exist, but there's a whole realm of fiction that's just about this one type of amplifier. This is this turbo confabulator. Same thing. It's just it's over decades of people adding to this non-existent piece of
turbo encabulator. Get it right.
Turbo encabulator. Look it up on Wikipedia. There's a whole
humor, and they like to have their tropes and gross. It's like the word unobtainium that was used in Avatar. That's an old in joke among physicists about the anti-gravity element. So they aren't even making it up. It's stuff that goes along when people want to joke at each other.
Yeah, I found this on Wiki, the turbo encabulator. It's like, this is brilliant, dude. I have not seen this turbo encabulator before, I gotta admit. This is really good.
I thought it sounded familiar. They actually did a section on this on Skeptics versus the Universe podcast. They did a section on the turbo encabulator.
Nice.
So all that remains is for us to find out whether this person believes this to be a real scientific proposition being presented. That's all we're waiting for, right?
Oh my god, I am so happy right now.
Let's get to it. Come on.
What
category as April Fool's thing, where the long tradition of April Fool's joke is how cleverly can a reporter spew out some ingenious bullshit in such a way that it's insane, but how long can they string you along before you go, wait a minute, oh shit, it's April Fool's, of course. And it's in that
This is a fairly well-known engineering in-joke. This is like mechanics telling the new guy to go get the muffler bearings.
And I like the fact that he starts off with something that, kind of sounds, a little legit. There is, things like, obviously a motor does have a relationship between the flux density and the stator, the rotor, and all that stuff. So it sounds like it's legit. Then as you get progressively more as you read into it, it gets completely worse. I love that. That's brilliant.
Same thing with the so-called hoax that was put up, and the new one about the penises that's just been making the rounds. The idea that when you're parodying something, you do it in such a way that it has a superficial plausibility to it. The NPR thing that they did about the Starbucks coffee pipeline from Seattle to Chicago, and that was one of their April Fool jokes. And the kicker was when they had a pretend environmentalist complaining that they were worried about the possibility of coffee leakages contaminating, and so that the EPA was going to have to do an environmental impact statement on Starbucks' proposed coffee pipeline, and that was the kicker off of that. The same stuff in the physics level. You escalate the jargon
from Rockwell. If they make it sound so legit too, turbo encabulator from Rockwell, right? So it's got to be legit, right?
well, yeah.
It's all pretty funny. I love it.
All right,
that's pretty good.
Moving on.
Poor flat earther who took it seriously.
The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fam. The latter consisted simply of 6 hydroplastic
That's what it goes off the rails.
so fitted to the amber-facing lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented.
Now that may be comical, but still, that is the language that they speak in. They speak in their own.
No, it isn't.
All right.
Now he's making up words. At this point, he's like way off the rails.
All right.
That's what a flat earther hears.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
so stupid
Because they don't
hear.
understand the terminology.
Exactly, any competent scientist or anyone would notice right away.
And that's what's so brilliant about this, right? Because we can now hear what we sound like to them when we talk about science.
This is what I hear when I hear Seth talk about philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just like this is what we must sound like to somebody like G-Man or someone.
Oh, it is entirely, yes. It has to be.
It really is. No, I'm thinking that this is really what they think when people are talking about a certain subject. This is what flat earthers and conspirators actually hear.
Yeah.
And
thing with if you're familiar with Senator Proxmire from the old days in his Golden Fleece Awards, you have a brand of politician that takes tremendous umbrage at technical stuff, and so they would be just skewering science material that they didn't understand because it sounded ridiculous to them, without ever actually investigating whether or not it was perfectly legitimate work that just didn't sound okay to a scientific illiterate.
So not like when Sarah Palin lamented the fact that in Paris they're doing studies on fruit flies.
Yeah, which actually turns out to be really important stuff on disease propagations and stuff relating to how to deal with pesticides.
We need to find out if this guy actually realized this was bullshit, or he actually thinks it's legit. So we have to keep going.
No, actually, he just did. I think we ignored it. He did said that's kind of funny, but that's how they talk. So apparently he does.
I thought that was bearded guy that said that.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, let me back it up a second just to be sure. Here we go.
Now that may be comical, but still, that is the language that they speak in.
Yeah,
they speak in their own arcane language, and there's no two ways about that. And people just drool over it. This guy in a white jacket is just so darn smart. You see what I'm saying? We have astronauts claiming they couldn't see any stars at all.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. That was Spock.
Yes.
Right? That was him saying that scientists think there's Spock.
Okay. Now,
sorry.
Yeah, because that would be crazy for somebody to believe that. Ha! Ha! Ha!
So I have a quick question here.
Yes.
Does anyone know what a flat earther is talking about when they say scientist? Because
anybody with a second grade
I have a
education
bachelor's
in
of
that,
science
probably.
in mechanical engineering. I'm a scientist. I work in applied science. I'm not a research scientist, but I'm still a scientist.
Do you have a blue shirt?
Right now I'm wearing a black shirt.
Have you ever held a test tube?
Yes.
Do you have pointed ears?
Can't see myself. I don't have a mirror.
How many pocket protectors do you own?
I am human.
Would you be able to identify a slide rule in a series of objects?
Well, I do. I do actually.
Dragnot has a test for this.
Does that suddenly make me a conspirator?
Dragnot says you have to know the difference between an Erlenmeyer flask and a graduated cylinder. If you know the difference between those two, you're a scientist.
Shit, I'm a scientist.
So every pothead back in my high school was a scientist.
Doesn't take much, man.
You'll notice there's that kind of snobbish anti-elitism to the guy that wouldn't apply it in other areas. I expect a really skilled auto mechanic to know the difference between one part and another, and a really skilled car person can tell just by listening the kind of engine that's in it and the make of the machine and all the little fusspots of stuff, because they know their trade, and that trade will have specialized jargon. Lawyers use specialized jargon because the law builds up on that. So there is a pernicious anti-intellectualism to the flat earther that assumes that because people use jargon, that the jargon isn't there for a reason. It's there to communicate precision thought. And he has no precision.
Did you just say there's a vein of anti-intellectualism and flat eartherism? Because that's certainly not true. Come on.
Can anybody give me any argument this guy's made so far, though?
I've just been counting.
I have not heard an actual argument.
No,
I can read you the notes I've taken so far.
I'm just counting scene cuts.
Okay, scene cuts. There you go. Yeah, because all I've heard is incredulity. So, anyways,
and
this is
what
I
haven't even made an ad-hom yet.
No,
I mean, for a flat earther, he's kind of failing in the general.
See, I think this guy might be a Poe. I don't know. I'm not convinced he's just fully the stupid.
Well, it is possible. This is the first thing I've seen from this guy.
Well, he did show a picture of Spock, so I'm happy.
Dare I say, there's been no mention of penguins yet, so we're good. All right, moving on.
And then turn the page, we have astronauts saying they could see all sorts of stars. We have Michio Kaku telling us that the flag was made out of certain aluminum foil materials, and it was meant to look like it was waving. And then we have them saying that it was simply picked off a store shelf for $5. It was a regular old made in America, American flag. It's very difficult to tell the truth when everything is a lie. But we are cracking the surface. And you can easily tell that's occurring by looking in the comment section with the very, very angry NASA people jumping up and down, explaining in their fantastic vocabulary exactly how stupid I am and how quickly I should die. But let's listen to the Potter's Clay YouTube channel's top 10 NASA moon landing.
Hey, okay, you called drink there, RJ?
Yeah. He's just made a claim that he apparently is not going to document. He asserts that in people saying how stupid he was from NASA, that they were using complicated jargon. Well, let him jolly well prove it. I would imagine that in any interactions this clown has had with anybody from any government agency or website or anywhere else, that they are not using jargon at all. They're using just plain, ordinary English, because that's all it takes to show that this guy is an idiot.
Well, plain, ordinary English is jargon to a flat earther.
In a lot of cases,
he's
that's true.
having trouble getting onto that part. He has trouble getting to the conclusion of his various points because all he makes are incomplete, misfired accusations. He doesn't actually offer proofs or strong references in anything. And oh, by the way, on the stupid flag, I don't care what Michio Kakuki has to say on the thing. From my understanding of the circumstance was they had a flag that was packed up. It had to be unfolded. There was a small reinforcing rod in it. And because of the fact that energy emitted along physical surfaces, that it waved a little bit when they unfold the stupid flag in the vacuum. There's nothing magical about it. And I don't really care what Machiko Kakuku has to say about the subject.
There we go.
From my understanding and from everything that I had actually learned, it was cornstarch. You know, the same thing that you used to make your pants stiff with so you could iron a decent seam into them.
Okay.
I could be very wrong. That's just, you know.
Did I hear that right? Was he claiming that NASA called him stupid? And if so,
we are getting our money's worth from NASA.
Well,
and if so, I can see why he would think that was a bit too technical.
The flag cost $5. The tubing was $75. For the rigid tubing that they used for it.
Okay.
I just think that it's interesting that this guy thinks that Michio Kaku is. I just think it's interesting. This guy thinks that Michio Kaku is an authority on how the American flag that went to the moon was made.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
He's an astrophysicist. Why does he care what Michio Kaku thinks about it? Michio Kaku's knowledge of the moon landing is as much as any other novice who didn't work on the program.
And maybe I said maybe Kaku's talking about the tubing, right? He's talking about aluminum tube. The tubing was aluminum. Yeah. He's talking about. I don't think Kaku is implying that the flag was made out of like some galvanized material or something.
I know. Yeah, and we don't even what.
So yeah. $5 back in 1960.
Figure people tend to riff off of him, and this flat earther isn't riffing off of direct information that we can trace down. He's just gleaning stuff he's picked up scattershot off of the web. That's his entire approach to things.
Well, that was so far. However, the last thing he said before we stopped it, we stopped it for your call for drink there, RJ. The last thing he said was, all of that so far has not been. Those weren't the 10. The 10 that are claimed in the title. He said those are not the 10. We're gonna.
Yeah, I thought I heard that too. So what is this 10 then? Let's hear his claims.
Yeah, here we go. Here comes the 10.
Hoax. Proofs, we'll call them. And links will be in the description.
Cool.
NASA admitted that it had lost the original footage of man's first steps on the moon. YouTube and watch A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It contains newly discovered evidence, which is part of the missing tapes, of outtakes from the first mission to the moon, of them falsifying a shot of being halfway to the moon. We found never-before-seen footage of them faking part of the photography, which is in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, which has been licensed 5 times and can only now be viewed on YouTube.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflection light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number 1 window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done...
Okay. You're up, RJ.
RJ here. Okay. Second of his 2 proofs, are we agreeing on that? The first one was the Fox guy, and now this one is number 2?
Yes.
Both of these are secondary sources. Primary source argument. He doesn't realize he isn't doing that. What it sounds like is somebody is interviewing somebody on Fox News on that first one, and who is that, and why is that person reliable? Do we know what the hell they're talking about? Yes, words are coming out of their mouth making accusations, but that is not in and of itself a proof. That's just his for believing something that he saw on the web, and now we're getting a number 2 of exactly the same thing. This guy is a monument to secondary credulity.
Yeah, well, the first one.
Don't give proofs ever.
the first one with the lost tapes, as far as I know, there was no losing of tapes. There was reusing of tapes for, I mean, budgetary reasons. Was there not? I mean, so that's, I believe the whole lost tape thing was that.
Anyway.
Is a tip iceberg. But instead of presenting the pseudoscience iceberg directly based on his own investigation, he is offering somebody else's pseudoscientific iceberg secondarily. And so he's just stringing this stuff together. He's a secondary parasite. If so, we can predict that all of the remaining claims he's making are not anything he's researched himself or offered evidence for himself, but simply things he has nicked from other people who have told him something he wants to be true.
Also, I seem to remember that this voiceover and these pictures come from a BBC documentary on hoaxes, and so they had a section in it where they were putting the case of the hoax, and then they would go through and show why it was wrong. Anyway, that's vaguely, it comes from the 80s.
That would be interesting to see, because I've seen some of the. This is part of a larger thing that I have seen before, but it was quite a while ago. And then after, it's like there was the part that was put on television, and then there was the full recording that was after, you know, they illuminated the cabin again, and you know, seeing the full thing, it made it a little more obvious what that. No, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it comes from the Horizon program, but interestingly enough, they also did one on astrology as well, which was quite an interesting one.
Absence of evidence, evidence of absence.
From a show that debunks the very thing he's claiming is true and neglects to call attention to that, another step beyond credulity, he is being selectively credulous in misrepresenting his own primary source.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is he a Poe? Is he just deliberately dishonest? Is he completely, you know, dumbass, or all the above? I mean, it's so hard to know with these guys, right? You just have no way of knowing. But clearly, he's not offered anything of substance whatsoever. Like RJ is saying, this is all secondary incredulity bullshit. There's nothing of any value to even to evaluate here. This is nothing.
Indeed, and it's funny, the questions you just asked about this person, are these not the same questions we ask ourselves about, like, when we're talking about people like, oh, I don't know, like Jaren or somebody like that? Is he really, not that they're a Poe, but perhaps an actor, and they know that everything they're saying is bullshit, or whether they actually, but it's difficult to tell.
Nobody says what they actually believe, unless I can verify it otherwise, because the gaping brain of Tortukans has limitless ability to believe things that are not true. So that's a barn door way big enough to accommodate flat Earth or anything you want to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. I have friends which are into conspiracies, and I have no idea why, right? But they are, and you know, whatever the latest one is, then they'll look at it for 6 months and then put it down and move on to the next one. They just like being into conspiracies.
All right, so
it's very strange.
And so before
somebody says in the live feed that Richie's not a con artist, he's a homunculus that just doesn't do any research. And you know, it might be true. He might be just somebody so damn dumb. He just finds something official on the internet or on YouTube and says, "Oh, look, this is clear evidence." Because I've seen a lot of people do that. They're like, "Oh, you want evidence? Go look at this YouTube video," and you're like, "Oh, okay, this is stupid." You know.
Well, remember
he's a brilliant mathematician. Goku.
It's secondary citation. It's how their brain works easily. That they see something which they want to be true, and it becomes true. The idea that they need to fact check any of it or read more widely literally doesn't occur to them. They just move on.
Yeah,
and I know this from a way higher level than somebody that no one would ever accuse them of being a Poe, Philip Johnson in the intelligent design movement, a brilliant man who could go and scavenge around on the internet about John Woodmarapp, the creationist, recommended to David Berlinski, another extremely bright guy, who then swallows it hook, line, and sinker. Not one of them ever bothered to check out any of the sources. That's operating at a very high level of scholarship, law professors and the like. So the idea that this little schnook down here in video land wouldn't be doing exactly the same thing doesn't surprise me in the least.
Schnook.
Yeah, it's nice.
You know, I'm giving schnooks a bad name on here. I really shouldn't insult.
I've been accused of doing the same to jackasses when referring to our buddy Kenny Ham.
The jackass must do to you that you should be connecting them to Jeranism?
Indeed. No, it's Ken. Actually, it was Ken Ham. Ken Ham is the one that every communication in his direction ends with the word jackass.
I love that you leave 7 characters, like room for 7 characters in every one of your tweets to just plug jackass in.
It's
Jackass.
expected. I left it. I had to leave it out of one a few months back, and I actually got on Twitter. I got a tweet from someone saying that you forgot something. So now I do make sure everything going to Mr. Ham.
Has he not blocked you?
He has, but we'll just say yes, he has.
But everybody else can obviously see your tweets, but he doesn't see them.
They can see my tweets, and as you know, if you're logged out, I can see his. And
okay, Ken Ham has blocked you. He's never blocked me. I'm something to look forward to.
It's quite a club we've got. We've got I believe up in the hundreds so far. For everyone that does, I don't know if you've seen the picture, RJ. Every person that announces that they're blocked by Ken Ham, I welcome them to the club. I send them the picture of the mug of truth in the air. So, yeah, it's getting to be quite a group.
Sounds like
I can usually detect the blocking part because I won't see their tweet. I'll see the comments on their tweet, but not the tweet. And so I'll check. Sometimes I'll call them up and make sure that I've been blocked on there. In which case, I add to my little spreadsheet listing that I've been blocked by the person. But it's been relatively few, and they usually tend, for me at least, to be kind of really super duper grassroots Christian apologist type who anybody saying a discouraging word. So I'm slighted that Ken Ham has not blocked me yet. I'm insulted.
Well, I wouldn't be too insulted because I believe what has happened. Remember, that arc is not quite as profitable as he pitched to Kentucky, and I think they let. Do you notice there have been very few new articles on any other websites? All they're doing is recycling the old stuff. They may not be paying attention anymore, or it may be automated now.
Did you see my video I did on the
Yeah, but they don't care anymore. What is Ken Ham has done his thing on it. He's moved on to other projects. He doesn't give a crap. He didn't lose a dime on it. It's all crowdfunding. The state doesn't matter because they've lost more money in tax breaks than they've ever earned from revenue from tourism. Or anything from the art.
He pulls down $150 a year plus perks there, so he's comfy off.
Yeah, and like I said, and he doesn't have to give back a dime or anything. It's all crowdfunding. I mean, say what you want about Ken Ham. In his science, he's an idiot, but in business, he's a genius. He's a con man. He's a brilliant con man.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I would go for brilliant. There's a difference between intelligent and clever. I'd go more towards clever. I think.
To me, people that are clever exhibit brilliancy in some ways, because I'm not a clever person. I'm not a person who is very creative. So to me, if you're clever, you're creative. I think that's a form of brilliancy.
Okay.
It doesn't apply to anybody in this particular hangout, obviously.
You don't mind if I still detest him?
Except for Car.
I can
speak for yourself.
I said except for Car.
Anyone in here.
Sorry.
All right.
What's that?
I've got to change a direction for him. I think,
Is he breaking up?
Oops, we lost.
I think so. All right. I thought that was
pause for dramatic effect.
Well, try.
Well, let's find out where our flat earther is here.
Try.
All right.
Try. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18th, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out.
Drink.
Okay. Andy,
I get so tired of all of this moon landing hoax bullshit. I'm aware that from earlier it was obviously let known that this is not an actual we're trying to create a hoax show, but rather we're a calling out a hoax show. But when you look at actual slides,
now who would have the opportunity to look at actual original slides, though, Andy?
Well, you know, me.
Yeah, that's you lucky bastard, you.
Well, I think there's laser interferometers that have been dropped on the moon, and people with a powerful enough laser can bounce off of the moon quite accurately, which is kind of difficult to do.
Outside of that, I'm talking the raw photography here, RJ. The actual photography. There is a very big difference between, oh, someone dropped the veil in front of the camera, and no one dropped shit.
Okay, so if I'm getting this correctly, these assertions disturb you to some extent, Andy. Is that correct?
They make me outright irate.
See, I was getting that impression. I was thinking exactly that.
Wow.
They really do anger me because there's so many of these moon landing hoax things. They entirely exist upon how many times has this image been digitized and degraded over time, and hasn't a single moon hoaxer ever actually held in their hand a negative from any film. And not just film of any Apollo mission, but has any hoaxer that uses real photography ever actually held negatives of photography in their hand? Have they worked in a darkroom? Have they exposed?
We have no idea. But we do know that actual astronauts get very angry.
Any of it.
And one of the astronauts that actually went to the moon, when he encountered a moon landing hoaxer, decked him.
Buzz Aldrin, my hero.
Yes.
Oh my God, that video! I've watched that video so many times. But
yeah,
Buzz is he is a pillar of patience with this man, and this dude
until he goes,
just keeps stepping in front of him. If somebody cuts in front of me in the line at the cafeteria, I want to hit him in the back of the head. And this dude keeps stepping in front of Buzz and says, "You're a liar. You're a fraud. You're a liar." And finally, Buzz just
genuine hero. And finally, you just can't take it anymore. Excuse me, Buckaroo. The guy was on the moon. He knows you're an effing idiot. You finally just can't take it anymore, and no court on earth would ever convict him.
Fuck no.
It was so beautiful. Buzz, he had such great form. He was like, "I'm too old for the two-piece. I'm gonna take you down with one shot, and I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna watch Jag." It was amazing. I loved it so much.
And that was perfectly justifiable. I mean, obviously it annoys us when people who've accomplished, so much. Are
real
criticized. Yes, they have accomplished so much, and are criticized and questioned and doubted by people who have not accomplished anything. I can see where that
they very seriously put their lives on the line for that mission, and they got it done. And it was, when you look at the telemetry and the rocketry and the schematics for everything, that was such a ballsy thing to do. I mean, it really took us. They did not know for sure that they were coming back.
You're getting on top of a 40-story rocket firecracker that could blow you to smithereens, and then you got to go 250,000 miles and back, where anything that could go wrong might. And boy, that takes something. And so little twerps on Earth like this nincompoop doing this video, who have the temerity. This guy doesn't have the right to lick that guy's shoes, let alone announce that the NASA and all the astronauts are part of some vast conspiracy. It's vile and stupid.
Agreed.
Well, even further outside of that, can you imagine any individual this day and age putting aside all of the computer electronics involved in their life and doing it all shorthand on a scratch pad? I mean, how many of us actually sit down and even pay our bills by sitting down and running a ledger in our checkbook anymore?
The machine does that. Absolutely.
The total computing power they had. A VIC-20 was a supercomputer to them back then.
Yeah, we all already put our life on the line in our own sense by letting a computer do it. This was long before what computers could do what they do today.
And actually, the computers that they made.
I'm going to let a series of vacuum tubes do this. No, it was I'm going to let a series of brilliant mathematicians run the numbers actively.
And the actual computing devices were pretty spooky too.
This thing that I hope works.
The video never shows that he has the faintest idea of even rudimentary physics or math, like when we claimed about the crater, as though what? He had done calculations on the amount of mass involved and the amount of dust particles and how much mass it would require and energy to be able to produce a crater on the moon, like he'd ever done any of that. No, all he can do is to piece together stuff that he's nicked off of videos, old films, secondhand, that he's parsed and sliced up like an egg beater, and ends up putting together to put forward a vague accusation by ad hominem about people who are so far above him in terms of expertise that he has no business shooting his mouth off.
Indeed.
Hey,
and
that's YouTube. Hey, there you go.
Yeah, that's pretty much
it.
There
you go.
YouTube, it makes experts out of everybody.
We love it.
Indeed.
Anyway, onwards.
Indeed, I would say so. Here we go.
From about 130,000 miles out.
Finally, the iris is opened up, and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away?
Let it go.
So I took a year and I traveled across the country, and folks, I've actually posted it on YouTube. It's called Did We Go? And the challenges, Geraldo, everywhere I went, it was just amazing. Moon rocks falling in Antarctica, Neil Armstrong's silence. But I was the first to report, and you played the clip earlier tonight, that all the science data, the telemetry data was missing. Now, Geraldo, for NASA to come out and say that all the tapes were erased, I mean, it's incredible. Geraldo, this isn't just one tape. This is rooms of tape labeled Apollo 11 moon landing. Someone had to physically go and erase it. It's very challenging to try to prove we landed on the moon.
Okay, you're up.
Well, I mean, he's claiming not only that he's got the film, but he knows that that film that he's got is one of probably thousands that come from a room, and he can even tell you the label of the name of the door. Right? I mean, this is ridiculous.
On the famous science program, Geraldo Rivera, on the famous network that has helped bring us Donald Trump. Yeah,
Well,
what a great.
Mark,
You say that as a bad thing.
landings. That famous
Yeah.
in NASA. I would say, how does he know? Has he ever been to Nassau?
I'm guessing probably not.
Well, rather than going to NASA, I'm more concerned with whether or not he's ever actually been to the USGS and actually seen any of the samples brought back from the moon.
But they were probably in the room marked Apollo mission, Apollo 11 mission landings room.
No doubt. Now, this is number 4, right? Is anyone else counting? This is number 4.
Hold on, let me check my notes. Let's see. Harvard takes a picture of outer space. Harvard videos make brain hurt. 2 minutes of unedited moon landing footage. Got the rocket engine sounds. Vroom, vroom. Large rockets are giant, great big blasty things. Circle is real. Doesn't understand parody. And then the rest of my notes is just the F word, I think, 100,000 times. So,
okay, so that's 4. Yeah, good.
Maybe my notes can't be trusted.
The both informative and more entertaining than the video.
Brilliant.
I like it. All right, here we go.
And it shouldn't be challenging. That should be there. There should be plenty of evidence.
Now, in this video, he shows really in a common sense fashion, if you have a girlfriend or if you have a spouse, you realize how much hair ends up in the bathroom, ends up in the shower. Yet on the International Space Station, apparently there's no rules at all. You can be in terrible shape, still go up to the space station. You can have your hair hanging out absolutely everywhere. This is obviously fakery, and it's not even good fakery, to put it bluntly. It's so ridiculous how often you can catch the.
Okay.
Yeah. Drink, Simos. I've seen another flaw here. If he thinks that woman is in bad shape, really, I think he's got the wrong glasses.
Wait a minute. He's trying to say, he's trying to say that it's unbelievable that women have their hair like that in space
that's
because
it, yes.
she's washing her hair?
Yes, and it would clog the tub. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, because he barely thinks that all of her hair will come out in the shower. Also, how exactly is her hair looking that way? Is it flectovarathaned, or is there a gigantic blast of air, some fan underneath? How is he claiming that this thing is...
Yes.
He already did explain it. It's a bad effect. That's what he said. All right, let's just leave it at that.
She's hanging upside down, if you didn't know.
It might be a bad effect, right? But that is some great product she has in her hair. I used to have a 3-foot mohawk. I could never get it to stand like that.
There's no product. You don't need product for it to do that.
But see, if you look at...
I just thought she was a conehead.
Like, hair is actually pretty stiff, and it's the force of gravity that makes it wavy around. Like, on its own, it would stand up like this.
A decently high tensile strength.
Yeah,
it's more rigid than most people think.
if you have long hair, you know that.
She's not in space. She's a hybrid between the troll dolls and astronauts. It's a secret project NASA's been working on for 50 years.
Yeah, she's secretly a conehead.
Okay, that could very well be it.
Yeah, she's a troll doll.
To be honest, if I met a girl with hair like that, I would be thinking the maintenance would be quite high.
Probably. What's this ISS power supply? Why is that on here? Did he add that, or was that part of the original?
He added that.
I
He
would
probably
imagine.
thinks it's like dangerous to have water near it. But
So
what's
that's-
funny is like clean water isn't even conductive.
No, you need ions. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Plus, we've seen the hair.
Like if it's a really dirty power supply, you might have a problem.
They've done the whole hair washing thing. There are NASA videos of that, just for the curious. But all right, let us move on. This was 5.
These people lying. And then how often you can catch the CGI. It's just beyond pathetic.
CGI?
I'm gonna,
what CGI? What CGI
Yeah,
have we encountered?
tell us, what about the CGI? Where is the CGI, Buckaroo?
I see
He
none.
won't say.
No, generally their claims of CGI are just that the people look weird, right? They look weird because they have a lot more blood flow in their face because they're not being pulled down to the ground. But the flat earthers generally just say, like, oh, look at this. This is like a what's the term for uncanny valley? They claim there's like an uncanny valley effect of the astronauts in space.
All right.
I have one of my assorted interests is the special effects thing, and you have to go all the way back to like say the 1990s to start seeing how they were having so much trouble figuring out how to do visual effects where you were involving hair in front of like a blue screen or a green screen, and it was extremely difficult to get to. And even then, if you look closely, you can easily tell where it's a special effect or not. And if he
you
thinks
know why that's a problem, RJ. You know why that's a problem, right? You know why that's a problem back in the early 90s, right, RJ?
Oh, well, it depends on what kind of a thing that you were making use of.
They were still trying to figure out how in the world to fit 33 into the new millennium.
Yes, there we go. Yes, and then of course there the penguin effect.
I knew it. I knew the penguin was coming out. There it is. All right.
I didn't even bring up the penguin this time.
Now we're doomed for the rest of the show. God. All right.
It's downhill from
Penguins have inserted their propaganda.
33 penguins coming up on 2001.
This is simple. This video, at least this part of the video is really simple. He's just going to say, it looks fake to me. How do you guys explain why I feel like it looks fake?
Exactly. It is the Russian vid's defense. Look at how fake this is.
or the,
I deny
the
it.
personal
I'll deny.
ingenuity. And since there was the old thing where Carl Sagan was saying that Eric von Däniken thinks everything he doesn't understand is due to space aliens, and because he understood absolutely nothing, he thinks everything was made by space aliens. Well, that's kind of where this guy
brilliant. That's brilliant.
All right, I'm kind of curious where that little blob of water is going to go. So let's move on here.
I'll leave links in the description so you can keep following this. But the Potter's Clay YouTube channel does a phenomenal job, in my opinion, and he doesn't have enough followers. At any rate, Richie from Boston. Here's just a few for all of those people that can't seem to wrap their head around it that their government lies to them. Actually, let me throw in 2 more real quick. Now, in 1986, I was what? I think 19 years old. Okay, is that right?
So stupid.
Skip it.
This is the one that kind of makes me angry.
Yeah, this is vile. In fact, the black astronaut, I believe, is the one that we have our memorial sculpture to down in Riverfront Park, because he was from my neck of the woods. So I say, move past this. Like Holocaust denial, there are some things that really you don't want to go there, Buckaroo.
Yeah,
this is kind of painful.
We'll skip this. Yeah, I've always skipped this crap, because you remember what happened last time we had a video with referring to this. I was somewhat angry.
Not merely stupid. It's nasty stupid.
It's vile.
Honestly, I think the best thing you can do is have a moment of silence and skip forward a minute over this.
That's what I'm doing, and it's more than a minute. Look, he's doing this. Oh, Jesus! I've seen all. I think I did a bit. Not a video. I think I did on the website. I did something about that.
I agree. How about a moment of silence for Challenger? They deserve it.
I'm with you. Okay.
And we are already 100 times more profound than Earthers videos put together.
I would agree. Nicely done. And we have skipped that vile section, and we're on to whatever the hell this is supposed to be. Here we go.
That I almost forgot, and I just made a comment about it not too long ago. This is explained by Michael Strout YouTube channel. The link will also be in the description.
In order to reach the moon, astronauts had to pass through what is known as the Van Allen radiation belt. The belt is held in place by Earth's magnetic field and stays perpetually in the same place. The Apollo missions to the moon marked the first ever attempts to transport humans through the belt. People contend that the sheer levels of radiation would have cooked the astronauts en route to the moon, despite the layers of aluminum coating to the interior and exterior of the spaceship.
Now, I don't know how many times I've shown this, but again, I'm going to show it once again. They've admitted on more than one occasion how they're still testing so that they can get humans through the Van Allen radiation.
That's not what they're
go ahead.
They're trying to find better ways of going through there. They're obviously there's a gradient on the Van Allen radiation belts, and the key thing to getting through them is time, distance, and shielding. So you want to minimize your exposure, so you want to go through rapidly. You want to have some kind of shielding, and you want to have the least amount of concentration, right? The distance between you in a concentrated area. So they're trying to find out better ways to minimize, but the amount of radiation these guys are exposed to was not that great. I don't know why you think it's some kind of massive amount of radiation they're being exposed to. It's really not from where they go through, because they go through points of relative minima. So where's their science to saying that there's enough radiation there to cook somebody at the relative minima? That's what I've got.
They couldn't even begin. Like, they're using science of a man far more brilliant than they could ever possibly be.
And they're using radiation without an identifier.
By his own.
What is the Van Allen belts actually are? And they're just assuming that anything called radiation is obviously going to lead to impending doom.
I worked outside.
We're being bombarded with electromagnetic radiation on a daily basis.
I was bombarded with actual radiation, not just electromagnetic radiation, but neutron radiation. I was bombarded with beta, alpha, you name it. I've been exposed to it.
Yeah.
My gonads are still attached.
Yeah, well, they just say radiation, not with no identifier, not
citation needed.
Yes,
I'll show you off there.
The big methods problem that the guy's showing again and again and again, it's the classic problem. He, by his own admission, says, oh, here is this video that says something I want to be true. Is there any indication that he's ever bothered to fact check whether the video was actually true? He's relying on it entirely as a secondary source. And then he leaps to another secondary source and then to another secondary source. But you can pile up secondary sources until the cows come home, and unless you check them out, they are worth diddly.
Well, and as long as everyone always assumes that that word radiation is some horrible thing that is just going to make you disappear from the face of the planet one day.
We're surrounded by light is radiation.
Yes, it is.
These guys don't understand what radiation is, or different types of radiation, or different biological
a place that actually is dangerous, like Chernobyl,
what it does
or
and how it works and how it poses a threat.
Yeah, but
Chernobyl's not even bad until you get up to the
All right. Gotta call it, guys. Please try not to talk over each other, because I was unable to pick out anything from any of you. So just please try not to talk over each other, because I learned something from each one of you every time, and I'd hate to miss something. So, all right. Very good. Right. There's more than one type of radiation, and fine. Oh, who just joined us?
Dark.
Ooh,
hey,
Dark.
this Dark Star.
Damien Dark.
Well, howdy. Welcome.
It's not Damien. It's Dark.
It's very dark.
That was an Arrow reference. Nobody get it? Damien Dark? No, whatever.
It's a neat little, what galaxy are you using as a picture?
I do not know.
You should.
I picked it a long time ago.
It's gonna bother me all night now. I hope you know that.
You're gonna go searching for a match, aren't you?
Well, it's not
kinda
Andromeda.
need to right now.
We're looking at Edge On, so that removes that one.
Try M81. I'm mobile right now.
Nope,
so
not M81.
I
No.
probably don't want to search.
So I just got to throw this out here real quick. I just realized I'm using an Apocrypha as a coaster right now while talking about Flat Earth.
Okay.
I was talking to, I believe it was Pillbox and Rose Patton. Maybe it could have been a year ago, 6 months to a year ago. And they brought up this Van Allen belt video where they were talking about not Voyager. It was the last rover that went to Mars.
Pioneer?
Anybody else? No, the one that's currently on Mars. Pioneer's not at Mars, is it? Huh?
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, yeah, I think it was Pathfinder. Regardless, it was a rover on Mars, and they're talking about, no, it wasn't even a rover on Mars, whatever, it was some mission to Mars, and the guy was talking about how they have to make sure that they test it for radiation and make sure that it's shielded enough for the radiation, but not too much that it's too heavy. And he's explaining this, and they stopped the video, and they turned to me, and they say, see, you can't go through the Van Allen radiation belt. They go, what? That's not remotely what he said. He says they have to test and make sure that they have the proper shielding, but not too, I mean, he never said you can't go through the Van Allen belt. He says it's a challenge.
Probably not even for that. Solar flares occur, and all they need is one damn solar flare to sweep across Mars, and you can get an enormous amount of radiation thing. You have to do the same thing if you go to Jupiter, because Jupiter has radiation belts that'll fry your balls off if you try to go anywhere near Io. It's like 10,000 rads. So, you know, the solar system is like a murky place for you knocking around, and the Van Allen belts aren't the major problem.
It's worse. It's worse than that, because we were talking about
These guys are all talking over each other. Drink.
We were talking about an unmanned flight on top of everything. I know radiation can affect instruments as well, but we're talking about an unmanned flight. They're talking about the Van Allen belt like it's a brick wall that can't be penetrated.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's the thing out of Star Trek, you know, when they try to get out of, like, going to, remember they were trying to go to Andromeda and they run around, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, that galaxy that I think you have a picture of, I think that's the NGC 5866.
Or try M104, the Sombrero Galaxy. Is that it?
Well, I've just found the NGC And that looks like the picture. The 5866.
Sombrero's a little bit more face on than your image there, Dark.
Here, let me show you this one, because I think this is what it is. But there's also the little sombrero too.
Very similar looking though. Dark gas cloud around a very, very glimmering central black hole.
But see how this one? See, you actually got the other little galaxy in the foreground too on both pictures. It's just oriented differently.
Yes, our apologies to people listening. We've accidentally stumbled into actual science knowledge here while attempting to deal with a flat earther who has negative knowledge.
There'll be none of that.
Dude, I think it could be that galaxy. It's just taken from a different angle. Come on.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's this one, just taken from a different angle. If you look at the actual barrel galaxy that's in the foreground, it's actually the relative position to it is exactly the same as Dark's picture. All right, just tilt it. So yeah.
On that note,
would you agree that
mystery solved?
Actually, I was fucking with you. How do you get a different angle on a galaxy?
Well, you just travel on the other side of it. You just go all the way around to the other side of the galaxy and look at it that way, obviously.
Right, and we
That
is the right one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just look at star patterns. It's pretty easy to discern.
Yeah, the star patterns look identical. I agree.
All right, here we go.
No.
We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation.
Okay,
some
drink.
parts it's very dangerous.
Drink. It was not unshielded. That claim is people that make the unshielded claim often say, "Oh, how much lead would it take?" Lead would be bad. What happens when alpha radiation interacts with
It's
lead?
deadly photons sometimes.
Yes,
you think
makes an X-ray.
Lead is well, that's not true, because lead is actually a pretty good, obviously, protector. I mean, lead is impenetrable by most forms of radiation, but there are types of materials that when you have a highly energetic particle strike it, it'll produce a highly energetic photon, which would be very detrimental to human health because it destroys cells. But that's not the problem. The problem is that you want to minimize your time in there. They went through really quickly. Radiation is built upon exposure, right? It's cumulative. So they want to get in and get out. They're not flying through like the sea of like what you would think of like Jupiter's, radiation belts. If they were to fly through that, they would have been screwed, clearly. But it's not that many RAM that they're being exposed being exposed to at all. They're in the milliram.
By the way, that's the same video that I was actually talking about. I was thinking it might be.
But lead, you don't want to use lead because lead's heavy, and obviously you don't want to launch something that heavy. You want to use something that can do proper shielding that doesn't have any kind of secondary radiological effects.
And of course, has our little Honyak ever done any calculations? Takes for the Apollo craft moving at 18,000 miles an hour to move through the Van Allen belt. He doesn't even think he needs to.
I thought it was a matter of minutes to hour or something. I didn't think long there.
Well, also I believe the path of Apollo took them around
response.
most of the Van Allen belt.
Yeah, after they're done, sure.
Yeah, the Van Allen belts are belts of higher than typical radiation. They're not death rays.
Well, they're just charged ionized particles. I mean, the sun, produces a lot of ionized particles that come out of there, and that's what you want to minimize. Obviously, you don't want those particles striking something, producing more potent gamma radiation, right?
Yeah. Also, and I just want to throw this out there: just because something is dangerous doesn't mean that it will instantly kill you. That it's like impossible.
I've been probably exposed to more radiation than these guys ever did. I mean, even going on a flight at 30,000 feet, you're exposed to, millirem. What is it, 30 millirem or something for like a 30,000 mile flight from California to New York? You're exposed to quite a bit of amount of radiation, like a dental X-ray.
Yeah, it's about 1 millirem per hour of flight. So Ralph Nader has accumulated more body dosage than if he'd lived next door to 3 Mile Island.
Yeah, and my entire exposure was only 600 millirem. My entire lifetime exposure was a little over 600 millirem. That's not a lot over a period of several years.
Of course, we're bogging down with those actual numbers and calculations thing, but that's never bothered our flat earther, who has never brought out a single calculation to put us into kind of a ballpark on the data front.
Hey, you guys are using that jargon, aren't you?
That jargon, yeah, numbers, number. That's a real jargon term those mathematicians use all the time.
Absolutely. All right. I stopped it because of Unshielded. Moving on.
Like this can run the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was there a question?
Dark had a question.
I had a question.
Oh.
Did Dark as well have a question?
I didn't have a question. I made a statement. I said Apollo mostly went around the Van Allen belts. It did not go straight.
Yeah, it goes through the portions of it where it's like, just think of a magnetic flux on a rectangular bar, right? You got areas where you're going to have lower concentration of the magnetic field, and you're going to have greater concentration. Well, the radiation belts are the same thing. There's the inner and outer radiation belts, and they're going to be points where you have a minimal amount of charge.
Spirit charts don't think that way, though. It's either maximum radiation where you die, or there's none at all. So yeah, they don't.
What's the concentration of the Van Allen belts? Isn't the maximum concentration of effectively where the magnetic field is strongest, which is more equatorial?
Yeah,
and the point is that by definition, they aren't launching on the equator. They're launching from Florida. So already they're coming through a section that's farther above the ecliptic from where they are if they were shooting from, say, Africa.
Okay, my question had nothing to do with what everybody just said, but
okay. What do you
I was
got?
just wondering, Steve, since you do happen to, from my understanding, work in this field.
Worked.
When it does come to shielding with radiation, is there more or less effect due to a material's particular electron shell configuration? Let's say lead very stable, other elements not so much.
Yeah, because what produces a photon is the jumping of electron in the orbitals, right? So you want something that's not going to produce a secondary radiological effect, like a gamma ray that's produced from a photon emission, right? Because that's what it is, it's photon. So you want something that is probably in the valence going to be full, or you want something that's going to be dense. Like lead is very dense, right? It's a very, very dense material. So the particles can't get through very easily. They're going to strike that rather than being passed through it. But as far as the orbitals, I don't actually know if certain materials are going to be, because of the valence shell being full compared to, like not, if it's going to produce like secondary radiation because of that. I would have to look into that. I mean, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, I mean, I know how it works for neutron, but not for photons, because neutrons will tend to be absorbed by certain materials either. They're called cross-section for absorption. So like uranium-235 will tend to absorb a neutron a lot easier and be fissioned by a thermal neutron. But I don't know how that would work.
That's why regular barium thermonuclear fusion is such a mess theoretically, because it's producing neutrons rather than protons, whereas a helium-3 fusion that would produce a proton is actually easier to contain because you can use magnetic fields, which you can't with a neutron.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, but you have to need very, very strong magnetic fields. But the whole thing with fission works because it produces those neutrons, right? You have 2 to 3 neutrons being produced per event with it's a 2.4 actually. It's weird, right? You either have 2 or 3, but the average is 2.4 produced for fission. But without that ability, you wouldn't have stable fission. Without that, you wouldn't even have a controlled chain reaction. But you're right. Neutrons don't respond to a magnetic field, so you have to use other methods to keep them contained. You don't want them leaking out of the core. One, you lose the criticality, and two, neutron radiation is 20 times worse than any other type of radiation. So I mean, yes, I've been exposed to neutron radiation, but it was so minimal, right, that it's not going to be doing any biological damage. But if you're exposed to the same amount of proportionate radiation of neutrons as opposed to like electron, which would be a beta particle, you're going to be screwed. Neutron radiation is extremely damaging because it's a very massive particle.
Awesome.
Relative,
but awesome information to learn. Thank you.
Speaking of massive particles, how's your mom?
This reminds me I'm wondering if he's going to get in the same argument that Orphan Red tried using that I made my video about, but I haven't finished it yet. I need to put it out there. I'm making one where they talk about the thermosphere being, like 2,000 to 3,000 degrees. It's like 2,500 degrees Celsius, and she doesn't understand that the even though it's 2,500 degrees Celsius, it's not very dense. And so you're at a vacuum. And so even though these particles just have a high kinetic energy, they're not going to spend very much time in contact with anything to even have any kind of heat transfer. And so basically it's cold up there, even though you have very highly energetic particles traveling at high kinetic with high kinetic energies, traveling at high velocities, but it's not very dense. Same thing with the Van Allen radiation belts. They're not very dense. So you have particles, yes, but there's how many particles per cubic centimeter are you looking at?
Meanwhile, we have our person doing the video who is very dense indeed.
Well,
I like when we start doing the technical stuff. It makes these things a lot more interesting.
I agree, and very
it's a good point about the density of the materials. So yeah,
I think at 400 kilometers, it's about 10 to the 10th particles, compared to about 10 to the 25th per cubic meter.
It's an exponential fall off. So yeah.
All I know is there's 1 proton per cubic centimeter or so. Is the for the vacuum itself space is like 1 or 2 protons per cubic centimeter.
So don't attempt to take. In fact, if you're traveling close to the speed of light, even though there's like 1 hydrogen atom per cubic meter in space, in interstellar space, if you're traveling fast enough, you're slamming into it in such a way that it can be an extreme nuisance just from your velocity.
Yeah, because it has a lot of momentum.
And how far out do you have to go to get to the temperature of space?
Well, again, like the thermosphere is at a couple thousand degrees Celsius, but that's only talking about the particles, the actual temperature itself, because you're losing more heat than you're gaining. So it's about, I think, minus 100 or something at that same about, give or take.
The example I give is if you take just a thermometer, it's losing more energy to radiation or like just radiant heat.
It's absorbing, sure.
Than it's absorbing from particles bouncing off of it and adding kinetic energy into the system of it.
And that's why these satellites don't burn up, because she's like, well, why don't they burn up at that temperature? Because exactly that. They're radiating more heat than they're absorbing by any kind of heat transmission or thermal transmission from the kinetic energy of these particles, because there's so few of them.
No, I watched Brian Mullen's video, and he's an engineer, and that's not what he said.
He vanished from the face of the internet. So.
You just keep on.
It means nothing. He just ran away.
All right. Well, perhaps we should move ahead and see what other little bits of wisdom.
Yeah. How far does he go on this little thing?
Oh, you mean the whole video?
Way.
If you
I thought this was almost at the end.
Way past reality.
Yes, most definitely. This entire
10
video.
minutes in, it's hour long.
This entire video is 26 minutes and 23 seconds long, and we have
we are at.
How long is it?
26 minutes and 23 seconds.
Okay. I thought it was like 10 minutes for some reason.
We gotta pick shorter videos.
Shorter than what?
I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult to find them because these guys just love to blabber on for like 30 minutes.
You know what you want? If you want short videos, is you want Orphan Red. That's the one.
No.
Except for,
you know what? I don't think she
no.
stuff anymore. Every time I talk to her, she just doesn't even seem like she even believes her own nonsense. I think she's doing this for show.
Could very well be.
I'm pretty sure that she's figured out just the right camera angle to make a decent amount of living off of YouTube, and we don't need to give her any more credit.
Yeah, I think
we have a new figure that's popped up next to Frozen Beard.
If we want to make fun of an angry, vile woman, we might as well move our way towards Daphne.
Okay.
Because that is an evil, vile woman that. I mean, she's already been banned once this week alone.
I don't know who she is. This is something new.
You don't want to know. She's a white supremacist. Just
no. I was going to say,
yes,
is this
I don't
someone
deal with
a tyrant?
No,
I don't get it. I don't even bother with that.
Tyrant. She's horrible. She's an absolutely despicable human being some of the stuff that comes out of her mouth,
All right.
I'm surprised that anyone watches her stuff. Horrible human being.
Actually, that's been sort of a depressing thing to notice.
I was just wondering,
I've
the new
noticed a lot
figure
of them
there,
seem
did
to
we
have
have an
quite a lot of
additional
followers.
participant or viewer? Like a 10th person, the one that with the landscape there with the clouds next to our frozen beard.
Makes me laugh every time.
I know epistemology.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah, he goes. He's been flat at discussions.
I didn't see him sneak in there.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
He snuck in.
Alrighty.
Visually by all the different icons, and so it wasn't one that I was familiar with before, so I'm assuming it's a new person.
Indeed. All right. Moving on.
Hey, naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice. Once up and once back.
Ominous.
But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
Okay.
But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
Okay.
Now, if they did this back in the late 60s, they don't have to test anything. It should have been improved tenfold by now. But that's not the case. Now, what this young fella, in the rumor I've heard, is that he's no longer with us. He's taken his own life. That's the rumor that I heard. I cannot verify it, even though I have tried.
Oh my God.
Where do they come up with
Can't
this
verify
stuff?
anything.
No. Also, how is that relevant? Does that make the things that you said any less true or any less false? Like, how is that a relevant thing to bring up when discussing
Maybe he's had a lifelong struggle with depression. He just happens to be in the sciences. Right?
Well, I was just going to say, there's, and just as a message to people out there watching, don't bully people just because of their ears. It's not a good thing.
But you know what? This is the second time somebody else, one of the other flat earthers, was tossing out this video guy who was giving the lecture on the Orion. And remember, the Orion is a heavy lift vehicle. It's designed to carry a heavy payload in the same way that the space shuttle was. The lunar module is not a heavy payload, and also it would be going way faster because it's being given enough momentum, not merely to get into low Earth orbit, but to get it out of the Earth orbit so that it could go to the moon. So it's not going 18,000 miles an hour. It's going closer to 23,000 or whatever to get to the moon. So it's moving through the Van Allen belts at a different rate. So if they've got something that's got a different low Earth orbit capability, a bigger craft that's got to carry more material, they're going to have a different balancing act on it. He's comparing apples and oranges.
RJ, I gotta stop you, RJ. You got to remember, every single time anyone says Earth orbit, the moon is in Earth orbit.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Accurate. Sorry. I've got to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
I got into this whole thing with Antonio Subarats about this vehicle, about the stupid Orion video, along with I was in the You've Been Exposed hangout.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought up the same thing, like, why do they have to test this vehicle? I mean, if they've already done it before with Apollo, like, why do they have to test this thing? And it's like the dumbest thing ever. I brought up, like, look, every time they bring out a new aircraft, they have to go through the whole test process. Right? This thing has new technology. It doesn't have the technology that Apollo had. It's going to have far more technology and ideally a much bigger safety factor because it's going to have
smaller
all the technology.
smaller electronics too. That's a big thing. Like you of course you need to test the vehicle. Shut up if you think
that's what I'm bringing up. It's like anytime they build a new plane or car, they test every single one of those.
They didn't have to worry about protecting the Apollo from integrated circuits. They would aboard a craft that was built today because we carry equipment into space that they didn't have in 1969 and might need protecting from a radiation surge.
Well, see, sorry, go ahead.
Cara, have you seen a definite integral written like that with the word limit above and below, minus limit, plus limit on the integration? Who even writes the word limit out?
I don't know. I guess this guy.
I think you guys are missing the kind of horror behind what he's implying here, which is that NASA have sacrificed people to the god of the Van Allen belt to save the spacecraft.
Actually,
Good explanation.
I'd like to address this argument because, like, let's say, for example, that hypothetically, that we just launched human beings into space and we knew nothing about it or whatever, and they got exposed to horrible radiation and died horribly. Okay, wouldn't that be a clear sign that maybe we should start testing some shielding or something going forward? Like, this argument seems to be predicated on the fact that we did it once and we're not looking to improve on our methods by which we do that thing. Right? Like, or am I just mishearing this guy's argument?
That seems to be the argument.
And plus, don't forget that Apollo was sort of a do or die thing. I mean, it was the height of the Cold War, and a bunch of guys that were willing to basically say goodbye to their families forever to go do this crazy experiment. But now we're trying to build a craft that's going to have, a very high safety margin. So they want to thoroughly test it on top of all the enhanced capabilities. I mean, one of the things Antonio was trying to say is, well, if they already did it in the 60s and 70s, why don't they just duplicate that today? And it's like, well, because why don't we just duplicate a 707 from like the 1960s, right? Like we want to have a vehicle that has far more capabilities and safety margin, and it's going to, be bigger and can do much
cheaper,
more.
cleaner, more efficient. That's the goal of anything, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't understand the idea that, like, you don't need to improve on things. I mean, and also, like, I seem to remember them, like, having to quarantine some of the first people in space because once they got back, they reported when they closed their eyes, they'd see weird flashes of light. And so they thought that, like, that was due to some sort of radiation thing, right? Or am I...
Well, they would take precautions for anything, pathogens. I mean, they didn't know what the hell to expect. They hadn't any somebody did it before, right? So
after
it was
Apollo.
obviously quarantine, right?
Just in case they picked up lunar organisms, even though they didn't think it was the case. But Ernest Gold was dithering on. He thought there was going to be like 6 feet of regolith dust on the moon, which turned out not to be the case. So there were a few people in NASA who were kind of crossing their fingers that the lander would just kind of disappear into a pile of dirt. But that wasn't true. So they learn by experience. They move on. What you don't get with any of the flat earthers or any of these people in these little subcultures is anything other than the ability to copy other people's arguments. They don't do any of their own thinking ever.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But it's just like them saying. By the way, they were off on those calculations quite a bit, and younger they're still run with that every so often, even though they've been told not to. But it's just the same thing as the people saying, "Oh, well, look, they were obviously quarantined. Therefore, that means NASA knew there was alien pathogens up there, and they didn't want to have human exposure to them." It's the same kind of idiotic logic.
Indeed. All right.
Well, the whole stupid thing, by the way, about the Van Allen belts, which the flat earthers bring up, is, well, how the fuck do we even know there's anything up there anyway? I mean, supposedly some of these guys think that there's an impenetrable dome, which would mean that the Van Allen belts are totally made up, which means
they think that probably are. I don't think that this guy actually believes Van Allen radiation belts even exist. I think that's probably his argument, saying, "Oh, look, if these, they know these things, they say these things exist, they say these things are radiation, and we couldn't have gone through them. Ergo, either A, we didn't go through them and they exist, or B, they don't exist because we're on a flat Earth." I think he's in the second camp. I think he probably.
I don't know.
He has not made estimating how much the guy has gone through. I don't think he knows what it is.
Sorry, I think I interrupted. My apologies.
Yeah, you might be right. I might be overestimating his ability to reason on that, but you never get a straight answer from these guys, anyways. I mean, the ability to dodge questions is amazing.
Wouldn't he have presented it? He could easily tell us what he thinks happens, but in any of these videos, we don't really get a description of what they think happened. We only get secondary repetition of what they don't think happened.
Quite true. And
Well,
I don't
be
think that
vague.
this
That's
can't
what
be a
they
flat.
do.
Oh, sorry, Cara. Go ahead.
I was just saying, be vague. That's what they do.
Indeed.
They're as vague as possible. They make a stupid claim and then don't.
No, it's a complete lack of nuance. They don't care whether or not it stacks up in their favor ultimately, or whether or not they could fit it within their worldview. What they care about is it's a stick to beat contemporary science with.
That is also true. Now, I don't think this can't be by the title. This can't be a flat earther because He's talking. The title of the video is that we can't leave low Earth orbit. Admitting that there is such a thing as an orbit, pretty much saying that a flat Earth is not a
That could
thing.
be a meaningless concession.
Here's the funny stupid.
No, he's not a flat earther. He's
Here's the funny stupid thing about it is when Antonio was bringing this thing up, super rats I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, so why is NASA going to create a video that says that we can't get through this layer until we do this and that and that we've never been through this layer before. So because their whole thing is this shows that we've never been to the moon. And I say, well, if that's what this video is saying, why would NASA release this and go through all the effort to hoax the moon, and then come out with this video that says, oh, we never went to the moon because we can't get through this impenetrable. And he says, oh, that's because they're lying to you. They're lying to your face. They're telling you in plain sight.
Yeah, it messes with your brain, right? It's a psychological operation. Come on.
It means A equals not A. It doesn't matter what is being said. Whatever it is will be channeled to believe what it is they want to be true. So A means we haven't gone to the moon. Not A means we've gone to the moon. And with that, all bets are off when it comes to reasoning.
So would you call that a clear case of LF Luna?
I've got to say, this is
so corny.
This is still following the Horizons program, right? And all of that information that we've just been talked about, I seem to remember was in that program where they talked, and this was done in the 80s, I think. And they'd first gone back and made some estimates as to if they were lucky, how long it took them to get through it. They made estimates about the strengths, the maximum and minima, and then decided the amount of radiation that they would have taken within a range. Right. So I think the program went into all of these details in quite accurately.
You're illustrating a beautiful point, Simos, is the fact that none of what we're talking about with this nincompoop is new. It's all repetition of arguments that have been cycled over and over and over again that are some cases decades old or more, and they can't ever bother to check up on any of it or to think it through or to work through their own model.
They don't want to. Why would they check up on something when it would invalidate everything they're trying to say? Of course not.
But literally, if they're like creationists who have the ability just to not to think about things they don't want to think about, there's a threshold level of just a big black hole in their brain that doesn't think certain things through, and the brain puts in like a cognitive sedative where it says, no, you don't want to think about that. No,
They're
just
tied
move
up
on
in
with
their
that.
worldview. They've structured their entire life around it.
Yeah, they want to. There's an attraction to the idea that the archetypal they, are wrong, and this person has found out the truth, capital T, all caps, and that it gives them a sense of a tremendous power over a world that they don't understand, like physics, mathematics, astronomy, fill in the blank. And so instead of having to grapple with their own ignorance and grapple with a world that is seemingly incomprehensible to them, they can create this little cartoon world composed of videos that they've zapped off of YouTube. And that's a comforting thing for them. It makes them feel very good.
Makes them feel superior.
It's the Sinclair Hotel, not Herbert's Hotel.
Yeah. We wouldn't want to put them into the Hilbert Hotel. No.
Yeah, like they're gonna know what the Hilbert Hotel is. Come on, really.
And honestly,
that's obtuse.
So
it
by the way,
actually irritates me quite a bit sometimes because this is kind of a half-assed, lazy shortcut to feeling superior to other people. I mean, some people, when they want to know something and want to have good conversations about this stuff and want to be respected, they learn about things and they converse about them. But these people have found like the shortcut. They just found this niche thing that people don't really get because it's fucking retarded. And because they learned about it, they can hard work. They've convinced themselves that no, they know the truth, and everyone else who just thinks that we went to the moon and that the Earth is round, well, they're idiots. They're the idiots, not you.
They've been indoctrinated. Because education indoctrinates you. That's what I was told the other day. That if you learn stuff, that you're being indoctrinated,
Yes, education is the devil. Absolutely.
Which is why almost as a law, not even like as a rule of thumb, but almost as a law, when you come up with to people that believe, the more insane the conspiracy theory, flat Earth being probably the most asinine one I can think of right now, that's at least at all popular. Almost every single one of them, I have not met one that doesn't feel like they're superior to everybody else. Clearly, if you bring up anything that you don't know about, well, we can't have this conversation. You haven't done your research.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It gives them a validation of a superiority that they haven't earned. They've slipped it through the background where now they can reject a thing. And the very fact that you're throwing all of the science jargon and stuff at them reinforces their sense of superiority. And I'm afraid we have a president of the United States who has a mentality exactly like that.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case at times.
Actually, no. The superior Muslim is out of the government now, so you can rest assured.
Okay. You know, I think if anyone's looking at the public chat, we might want to move on because they have moved on to discussing baraminology.
Yeah, I've been reading that. Apologies.
Just to wrap up this topic, I posted a link to a paper from 2015 where they found the relationship between lower IQs and susceptibility to believing in this conspiracy bullshit.
Oh, I definitely think there's a correlation there. Absolutely.
Also, I just posted a link to the BBC documentary that the clips have been taken from in the internal chat. If you want to put that in the outside chat for people,
that's a good idea.
That would actually be a really good idea. Put it in like the description for the video, so that people can get the.
Because that would actually be educational.
Yeah, so you could get like the full story because this dude is clearly cherry picking chunks out of this thing that supports his argument, right? So give him the full thing.
Let me throw it in the public chat first. Here we go.
I've got to just make a quick disclaimer, which is I saw this when it was transmitted, which apparently was 1984, and I haven't seen it since. So some of the details may be not quite right.
Well, if it was a Horizon series, a lot of Horizon material ended up on Nova. There's been a lot of connections back and forth on that. And so from my experience with Horizon BBC, that they were always pretty damn careful stuff, as well as being entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few, right, in the early days. So there was the one on astrology, which is quite interesting because, like the BBC always tried to put both sides of the argument. I mean, that's what they're... So sometimes they try a little too hard, right? And on this astrology one, they may have tried a little too hard.
But sometimes there are not two sides to it.
But it's still a fun one to watch anyway.
So we need to keep going so we can say drink more. So apology.
Oh, all right. Yeah, he's got to catch up, doesn't he?
He's too sober right now, guys.
Yes, yeah, some of us don't wait to be told to drink before we drink, Paul. Some of us are free drinkers. We drink on our own. Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Some of us like using the
free drinker movement
buzz as coasters as well. So we all have our own drinking habits. It's okay.
Here we go.
This young fella believes he's talking to an audience that's not really listening. He believes that the medication, vaccinations, and fluoridation has taken effect and the dumbing down of America is complete. And perhaps all those pesky jerk-offs that were still alive when this allegedly occurred the first time have all passed away. Sadly, they have not. Now, finally, let me throw this one in there for those that love to leave comments but don't seem to do any research.
Oh, he said finally.
NASA
Cool.
was wholly manned by Nazi scientists that should have been put up on trial for war crimes, but instead found a cushy job here in the United States helping NASA pretend to go to the moon. And they did a great job. Let's check them out.
We really want to understand what's going on in space today and what's happening with the plan to put weapons in space. I think it's instructive to go back and understand the origins of the U.S. space program. And to do that, you have to go back to Nazi Germany. Hitler recruited a brilliant young rocket scientist.
Drink.
Okay.
You had a weekend.
Damn it. You caught me free drinking. All right, who called it first?
Well, I think Simon and I got it at the same time. What's the name of that law that you can quote, that you can cite when somebody brings up the Nazis?
Oh yeah.
Goodwin's Law. Boom, Goodwin's Law. We're done with the video. We can move on. You are welcome.
Okay, finish the drink. That's exactly what I was going to say.
All right, that's 2. Okay, well called. Here we go.
Is it Goodwin or Godwin? I don't know.
I think it's Godwin.
No,
it's Godwin's Law.
I think you're right.
I think it's Godwin's, actually. Yeah, it's Godwin's
Yeah,
Law.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch.
Hold on.
Come to work for the Nazis to build the V-1 and V-2 rockets that were used to terrorize the cities of London and Paris and Brussels towards the end of World War II. And for von Braun and his team, they set up along the Baltic Sea a place called Peenemünde. There was a research and development center for the Nazi rocket operation. And to this place at Peenemünde, the Nazis brought thousands of Jews and French resistance fighters to serve as prisoners, essentially slaves, to build this production effort. Well, the British found out about it, went in and bombed.
You're up.
Paul, have a drink. So you've earned it. Steve, hey, so basically what this is boiled down to is if you don't accept flat earther, you're accepting Nazism. That's his argument now.
I don't think he's a flat earther. I think that's been said.
So if you
there's a horrible ironic
space denier or
flat earther, space denier. Okay, whatever.
Moon denier.
Yeah, if you accept that
why does he accept
there
were any rockets?
Then you're supporting Nazism.
I think
that's
just
his whole argument.
That's stupid.
I don't think that's it. I think he's just claiming that all
I think
of
that's
NASA.
exactly it.
Well, I think he's claiming that all of NASA is Nazis. I think that's what he specifically said.
Well, yeah, but if you support we've been to the moon, you're supporting NASA, ergo you're supporting Nazism.
All right, so that is the equivocation then. Yep, I would agree.
But here's a weird logic or illogic of his argument. Why does he assume that Werner von Braun built any rockets? Why is he assuming that anybody ever was conscripted to build the rockets? Why is he assuming that anything about the Second World War is actually true? Why can't it be CGI? Why can't Werner von Braun be simply a hand puppet? In other words, if the kind of logic that the guy is using against NASA, why does he therefore not use it against his other sets of sources? Why does he assume any of that's true?
Because he wants to.
Actually, I think he's going to show us an outtake of Thunderbirds in Nazi uniforms next.
He might as well. Yeah. Oh, I would prefer Supercar. I'm afraid that I go farther back.
All right, here we go.
On the entire operation. And so the Nazis said, we've got to move to a more secure location. And down inside of central Germany, there's a mountain chain called the Harz Mountains. And in that mountain, there's a huge tunnel where the Nazis were storing military hardware. Well, they cleared the whole thing out, moved the entire rocket operation into the tunnel, named it Mittelwerk. And just outside the mountain tunnel at Mittelwerk, the Nazis built a brand new concentration camp called Dora. And to Dora, the Nazis brought 40,000 Jews, gypsies, French resistance fighters, homosexuals, communists, even a black American GI were brought there to serve as slaves for the operation. Well, you know, immediately after the war, the U.S. and the Allies created the Nuremberg trials, at which time we brought the Nazis to justice for their crimes against humanity. But 1,500 of the top Nazis never went to trial. They were smuggled into the United States by the U.S. military.
Can we skip this part?
This guy really needs to
really
kind of like
paperclip.
It's all utterly irrelevant to his point of view.
So,
we'll never.
Yeah.
Right. Hopping forward.
We should skip.
Hopping forward. Agreed. This is all the same here.
It's just so painful.
Well, also, this isn't him making the argument. This just goes back to what RJ said, that he is just taking other people's arguments and then putting them up on his own channel. He doesn't even have the respect of his audience to, repeat it, to plagiarize it. No, he's just full copy paste. Here, watch somebody else's video.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, what's the point here, though? Okay, so let's say we gave a bunch of amnesty to Nazis that were in the rocket program, so that we could fast forward our own rocket program. How does that prove the flat Earth?
But
Because
it's
they're all
not.
working
Yeah,
for
it doesn't. It does.
NASA now, not NASA now. Is that what he's going with it? All the NASA people are all actually, almost
They're all
Nazis.
Nazis.
sons of Nazis.
Nazis.
If you
Yes,
just put a picture of a
Nazis.
potted plant up, it would have exactly the same evidential value. It's irrelevant to the point.
Yes, that's-
But he thinks it isn't irrelevant, and that's telling you a heck of a lot about how that guy's mind works.
Also, that's a
ahead.
good point. What if? So what if everything was true? Okay, what if like NASA was originally created with nothing but Nazis?
Would it make a difference?
How does that relate to NASA now? Like, do you think that Nazism is like a genetic defect that you pass on to your kids? So that and then the NASA is just all like a self-contained system of just Nazis breeding and
can Nazis
moon?
go through the Van Allen belt more efficiently than non-Nazis?
Well, you know that NASA stands for Nazis are still around, right?
And they're pretty nazi too, aren't they?
The ironic thing is he's actually, I know where this bit of video that he's got comes from. It actually comes from a Mel Brooks film. So he's done it again, basically. There you go.
Well, as for the Nazis still being around, hang around Twitter a little. There are still Nazis around who I don't think
the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth His handiwork. Where is that in that guy's video?
Yeah. What, you think I just have that up on my screen? Is that what you think, RJ?
Wow. And
yeah, I just assumed that was your background.
I think that's from this, isn't it?
Wow, that's
I think
thing. Although it doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Although it's kind of an odd niche because Wernher von Braun is one of the patron saints of creationists. They just love Wernher von Braun because he's very deeply religious, and they got some quotes about him complaining about evolution in the 1970s. So it's a weird little niche that I guess for this guy, Wernher von Braun is not a good guy, and he's coming from a perspective that apparently doesn't pay attention to the ones that think he is.
So
well, a bit of a sideways one here, which is a true story nonetheless, which is a friend's parents were saved from Germany by von Braun, a Jewish family.
But it's still like...
Yeah, he was a complicated character. He was a sad fellow. The cliche joke is that he was so getting to the moon that he would do anything to do it. And if he needed to collaborate with the Nazis to build the A1, because it was going to be one step closer to flying to the moon with a rocket ship. And the fact that he had slave labor building the stuff and the things he went along with, he just shut down and didn't bother about those unpleasant things because it was one step closer to the moon. And that's, I think, the great tragedy of his life. And then finally, he got out of that and was able to become the favorite avuncular scientist of the NASA program, and now he could actually get to the moon. So it's a dark, tragic side to his character, but yet doesn't change the fact that the moon's there and we flew there.
Yeah, it's not just a tragic character aspect of his life. It's a tragic outcome of many people that yearn for nothing more than scientific exploration, and unfortunately find themselves within the whatever it is that the current government is interested in actually doing with the money that they have in their power.
I think the same attitude was in the Soviet Union.
Sit down and want to go. I'm going to do the greatest things imaginable, but someone is still paying the check, and you are still working for a living. So as long as you work for a living, and as long as someone's paying your check, unfortunately, you're going to work for them.
Well, the scientists in the Soviet Union were also flying to the moon. They had a military-industrial complex. The early stages of that was in the Stalin period, who was just as nasty as Hitler, and they compartmentalized the way they thought about stuff, too.
Well, definitely, not only not as nasty, but equally as nasty. But, there was that, you get these scientists, we take these scientists, and let's make an economic warfare game out of it and call it the Cold War. There's other things that obviously took place, but as far as the actual scientist as an individual and what their work is concerned, it's hard to put any sort of I'm going to join this side as a scientist. I don't think that's ever a thing that actually happens. I think it's much more of a human trait when you are a very intelligent individual such as Werner von Braun. Far more intelligent than I'm sure he ever got to actually put out to the world. His interest lied in discovery, and it didn't matter which government funded his ability to provide that discovery to the human race. He was just interested in providing that discovery. And I think that there are a lot of scientists that exist, research scientists, I should say, applicable scientists like engineers, but we pick and choose a little bit more. But research scientists are much more limited. And unfortunately, when that limitation calls at the end of the day, it's generally which government is going to pay me to do work.
Alrighty then. We're closing.
Was that a mic drop of some kind?
I feel like you killed it, dude. Like that was really it. Like just boom.
We were in awe. All of us were just in awe of that. All right, and the good news is we're closing in on it. This is we are in the last 2 minutes of this foolishness. So let's see what we got here.
On Braun's headstone, and it looks like Mr. Braun was leaving us a little clue right there in the form of Psalm 19:1. And according to the King James Version, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Any other questions or comments? You really, really may want to understand that some of us have looked into this to the nth degree. I was a firm follower of space, NASA, and all things star, planet, other galaxy related my entire life.
Yeah. Can we get a drink on that?
We'll have a drink, Simos. I'll just point out the obvious that he's quoting from an English Bible that a German probably read, which is
also he's quoting from the King James Version, which was supposed to be like a more poetic translation. I think the initial Greek had it just say just the heavens and the sky. Like it wasn't all flowery like that. Like what does the NIV say?
There is no.
I'm also pretty certain he'd probably use a German translation, as he was German.
He became very Americanized. He was very fluent in English. Certainly was the case by the time he was doing documentaries for Disney in the 1950s. And he was quite religious, and the King James Version was just the standard Bible everyone would be using. So the idea that he would be using whatever version he was using, the Psalms, it would have been the case. He could have had an original German Bible. It's Hanyak that brings in the King James Bible on this.
Hey, if you want to tell tales, you might as well tell them with Shakespearean side effects.
Yeah, it's a favorite of mine.
This guy had done a lot of research. The preening silliness that he's done all of this science research. No, he's copied other. He's never done anything, as far as I can see from this
conspiratorial research. You don't understand. He's spent hours watching videos. You just don't understand.
Yeah, that's his research, and he's copied stuff from other people very diligently. That's all.
Yeah, that's research to these people.
Yeah, and that's sad that's what he is, a secondary source addict, and virtually everybody who believes things that aren't true, really, really, really not true, regardless of the content, all are secondary source addicts. They literally don't know the difference between a primary and a secondary source, and they're confusing them constantly.
Well, isn't it the general acceptance that if you're going to quote scripture, all of it is secondary resources?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, not to them.
Let's be real honest.
They think it's primary because they think it's all the inspired word of God. So if you're reading the Bible, you're literally reading the word of God. You can't get much more primary than that, can you?
Yeah, there's only a couple. The Book of Mormon is technically a primary source because it's all written by Joseph Smith, and the Quran is a primary source because it's all spewed out by Muhammad. And I think there are a few other occasional scriptures that fall into it, but everybody else is a secondary source. It's what somebody copied down as to what supposedly somebody thought.
So could you ever sit down and say something to the effect of the Septuagint was not secondary source?
Well, it is a primary source for its own text. But obviously, by the time you get down to the early Christian church, you're already 1,000 years after the formation of the Torah, and presumably the oral traditions go way back before anybody wrote the damn thing down. And we know that the Bible was assembled by committee, largely driven by imperial desires as to which things were going to be
the book of
considered
the 70 was written long before. Hold on, I think I'm segueing the conversation and should probably retract my statement.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to like why he thinks that this is at all relevant, and I'm assuming it's the usage of the word firmament, right?
This whole video has been completely irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatsoever.
Indeed, of the 10
Yeah,
proofs, I count 0.
This guy is giving Hairbrand a bad name.
Indeed. Well, that's
okay. Anyway,
giving life a bad name.
What Braun is basically saying there's a hint, right? In the English Bible, the German is basically saying in the English Bible there's a hint. Let's find out what the hint is here, because I think you're right. It's probably the firmament, but
exactly right. So like, there's two options here. Is that one? This guy thinks that Braun was saying God exists, which is fine. If Braun believed that, that doesn't mean that we still didn't go to the moon. Whether or not God exists has no impact on the fact that we went to the moon. So the only other option is the usage of the word firmament. And I've been here on BibleGateway.com clicking through every English version of the Bible with Psalms 19:1, and it's just the King James version and the original Jewish version that use the word firmament. Every other version uses skies. So had he done an amount of research, he would have found out that the rest of the biblical text all refers to it as skies, not firmament.
Yeah. Although in way that term comes about in using that, it made sense from what their understanding was. Because the old biblical worldview, there were pillars that held up a big kind of a roof. And even if you look at Matthew's gospel, where he imagines that the stars are little globs of light on the firmament thing, this tarp over the earth like a tent, and they can literally be rolled up like a scroll and the stars can fall off. That's something that the word firmament kind of gets the idea across. So I'll give King James props for a little bit for that.
Well, there's always going to be a lot of confusion and mayhem going from Greek to Latin, while Latin was still in its formation, to English, to every other imaginable language it's ever been translated into. So, on English translation being one of the most new, young, and even though I speak it on a daily basis, I gotta say English is a terrible language. It's functional, but
it ain't Latin.
Yeah, well,
they just for a bit of kind of background, I suppose. There was quite a few scholars that worked on the King James, and they used the Latin and the Greek and some of the Torah.
And for the 17th century, they were really serious scholars. They were doing a very good job for the time. I can't fault them on that. These were people who really took their work seriously. And even though it had a quibble bits in there, it's still an amazing piece of translation and very poetic. It reads extremely well.
Yeah, and it cost a king's ransom, literally. So, I believe it almost bankrupted to produce it. So,
had a kingdom at his disposal, and boy, he was committed to it.
Yeah, he spent nearly half the yearly ransom, the king's wage, on it every year for 5 years or something. But
well, remember the context of when that was happening. It was just coming off of the Tudor period. It was illegal to read the Bible in the England.
And eventually,
nice double, guys.
And then
we're over talking.
There's like 3 people talking.
Sorry. Our bad.
No worries. And then eventually ran out of money, and then just used the Tinsdale Bible to finish it off with. So, quite ironic because they burnt Tinsdale for producing a Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a troubled time.
Shall we continue, Sai? I think we're starting to overtalk to the point where we have no choice but to just go.
Yeah, really.
Before we do, I want to throw one more thing in there.
Start with
do you want to know how?
Start by calling drink. Start by calling drink, or you say nothing.
Drink.
Okay, now continue.
Man, real strickler for these rules. You want to know how you're making a really, really bad argument?
Mm-hmm.
If a group of people that have gotten together with the expressed purpose of debunking your argument go on a half-hour-long rant about something completely unrelated to what you were saying.
Because it's a dry well. We've already exhausted
what we're talking about. This has been like one of the worst ones I think you picked out, Sai. There's just no meat to it whatsoever.
I thought we were going to do Flat Earth Asshole tonight.
Actually, you know what? Sai, you have been promising for 3 weeks a homeopathic video.
I got it.
They have been talking about it in the chat.
Yeah.
And we have been talking mutiny, man. I'm this close from kicking you off the captaincy and taking this over. Is what I'm saying.
Hey, the pug will bite legs. Trust me on that. But
it sounds like it might be time for some homeopathy.
All right, because I did not pick this. This was, and I don't criticize. This was one that was suggested by Spacey Nerd, and thanks for the watching and suggesting
Spacey
all that.
Nerd never gets a recommendation again.
This was NASA hoaxer homeopathy video because it was less and less content in the hopes that it would be more and more impressive.
Am I the only one that calls it homeopathy?
No, homeopathy. That's it.
That's what I call it. Everybody else is calling it homeopathy.
No, it's homeopathy. That's how they. That's
well, I've always called it. No.
That's a good. But we should have a video on that. I actually was going to do that on my channel too. Because people are very close to it.
We are pronouncing it wrong.
There's even a variant spelling on it because some of them will stick in, some of the English versions in particular will stick in an extra O into the homeopathy if you look at some of the early papers criticizing it. So even the term has slightly variant spelling on there. So don't be worried about how you pronounce it. Just call it gibberish.
I usually spell it
quackery.
Well, we
should explain like the concentrations, dilution factors. That'd be interesting.
Indeed, but yes, this was a request. We satisfied the request. We've spent 2.5 hours on a 26-minute video. So, hey, we've had worse in the early days.
And the firmament showeth his handiwork.
Yeah. All right. Let's let this crap wrap up. And if anybody wants to yell drink, you know what? It's only if anyone wants to yell drink during the rest of this.
You.
Oh no, yell drink. You don't. We're not going to stop it. We're going to let it run.
Oh, okay.
But feel free to yell drink just so Paul can catch up. Here we go.
Life.
I'll say to
one
Jason,
day,
yes,
while
I
looking
think
through a
Cara
telescope, I realized what I was looking at was not what they described to me whatsoever. Stars in no way are smaller, more distant suns.
Crap.
Because if you work out the math,
look at this. Look at this.
Out of
I've
focus,
seen this way too much.
is.
If you take a nice standard cheap Newtonian reflector and take it way out of focus, you can make a star look like this blob. And this, I've seen this.
Remember, he has done so much research. Oh my!
You can do it with your own eyeball. Actually, you actually see little floaters in your eyes too that way.
But yeah, bring it back into focus.
Copious amount of drugs will also do that for you.
Okay,
that may be a better explanation.
In fact, isn't that an eyelash in the thing? Is that what?
Yes, we would
an eyelash.
This must be a refractor, because normally when you take a reflector out of focus, you can see an image of the diagonal.
Either there a long time ago or haven't even been there yet. This is a star through a telescope.
That's not a star.
That doesn't look like a star to me either. But
that if you take a bright star way out of focus, you get a disc. And that's how
I know that. Yeah, but I mean,
I could do the same thing with a
street light. You can do it for a plane. You can do it for anything that's a light emitting source.
Yeah, and normally this is what you
actually, for all we know.
And actually, there is a purpose for doing this with your reflector. Is if you take it way out of focus, you can tell if your mirror is pinched by your mirror mount. Because believe it or not, a 1-inch thick slab of glass, if you have your mirror mounts too tight, will distort. And if you do this, it'll show up as a rounded triangle, and then you'll know you have to loosen the mount a little bit. but I have seen this in so many flat Earth
Adaptive
videos.
optics actually was born out of the fact of realizing how flexible glass is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard to flex a piece of glass.
And that's what surprised me. And I learned this when I was 12 with the telescope my father made for me.
Steel deflects quite a bit too, working with it every day.
Indeed. And Jesus, I said we wouldn't stop. What the hell's wrong with me? Here we go.
Everything they
Oh, I'm sorry. Drink.
have told us is a lie. And in my opinion only, I'm not pushing this on anyone. This is what I believe. They are simply and only trying to hide God. And I also firmly believe the reason they built CERN is because they can't go up.
Drink.
So they're going.
Like
Simos. I've got to say, God does a pretty good job of that himself. So I don't think he needs any help.
Okay. And, let's see. Hold on. Who was asking? Epistemology for truth. No, I don't hear you at the moment. You're still on mute. Try speaking. Nope, we got nothing.
Yeah, normally, side strike. If with a flector, don't you? If you take it really far out of alignment, if you want to do a culminating on it, you want to check to see if your mirror is aligned with your little mirror. What do they call it? The secondary mirror, the one that
diagonal.
The diagonal.
In a Newtonian, it's a diagonal.
You can actually. Well, yeah, it could be a little rectangular mirror or whatever, but you can actually see it, and you actually see. Like I had one that was a 4-inch, and it had these 3 screws on it, 3 little like round. I guess they were screws. I guess you can call them, and you just basically move the one screw a little bit, and it tilted the mirror such that you can actually culminate your reflector to get the best possible optics for it.
Oh yes, that would be another purpose of taking it way the hell out of focus. The one I was referring to is just to tell if you're twisting the slab of glass, but works for that as well.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
There you are.
Thank God. So here's the funny thing. So I got into a bunch of flat earthers with the stupid P900 stars are actually these balls of plasma or whatever, souls or whatever the hell they claim that they are.
Souls. Stars are souls.
Here's the thing is I told them, go ahead and perform that, because I told them it's out of focus, right? Which is what you guys are talking about. I'm like, I can clearly tell this is out of focus, right? I've been in astronomy, most of my adult life.
Yep.
And I told them, do that on Polaris and let's see if we can see the companion star. Then we'll know if it's in focus or not. I want to see one of these where you can see Polaris's companion.
Or resolve any kind of binary system would be cool.
Right, exactly. Because you got to have that focus, pretty close in order to resolve the companion. And then they started arguing with me about, well, how do you know it has a companion? Oh, maybe because I've seen it like hundreds of times.
And you just reminded me that I was supposed to film Regulus for Side Strike.
Oh, damn it. Well, we got time. It's for this purpose, for videos like this where they show out of focus stars, that was the purpose. So we've got time. Do not worry about it. The problem is now when they talk about...
We have an infinite amount of time, apparently.
Well, the first times I ever looked through a telescope, it was actually, I think it was Griffith or close, but they had it on a quadruple star system, and in one lens you could actually resolve 2 different stars, and in one lens you could actually resolve all 4 of them. But yeah, if they were out of focus, you would never have that kind of resolution to actually see those things.
And what demonstrates the absolute dishonesty of some of these, the ones who actually make the videos themselves, with the images, where the images originally come from, is when they do planets, because you can plainly tell with a star. You could say, oh look, it's a little dot. It must be out of focus, and then they expand it like this. It's possible to believe that they honestly believe that when they twist the eyepiece all the way down, that is in focus. With planets, it's not, because when you have a planet out of focus, it looks a lot like that. But when it's in focus, you can see a physical object to the extent that if your mirror is clean, you almost feel like you could reach around the front of the telescope and grab the damn thing. So you can.
Well, that's
tell.
why I think this guy's being dishonest. I knows he's being dishonest. I mean, people know when something's out of focus. You can't be that stupid, can you?
Indeed. Well, now the P900 folks, yes. The P900 folks, yes, because they probably leave it on auto everything, and the autofocus has nothing to latch onto, so it gives them that image.
How do they explain the moons of Jupiter?
Oh, they say that we don't
They
know what it is. They say we don't know what it is. You know, it's just a big mystery. I mean, what is it? I mean, nobody knows. It's just a light. You know, maybe
Nazis.
It's a projection.
It's a projection.
You know, that's
It's not-
exactly what I was trying to bring up. I'm not going
Todd
to say
Fuller?
interrupt the video, but at the end of the video, if maybe you want to provide a link to my YouTube channel, I do actually have literal raw data right out of my telescope. Raw imaging data, I should say.
All right,
directly out of my telescope from my home. Go ahead and take a look.
Well, here's the other thing I brought up with them. I'm like, why do you guys think that this P900 has some kind of magical ability? You got guys on Cloudy Nights and some of the other astronomical forums in the astrophotography section. You know, they've got these custom made, these custom modified SLRs on these $10,000 Takahashi apochromatic refractors that they're doing astrophotography with, and none of their star exposures are looking like these these souls of plasma that they claim that these stars are.
They're all shills.
Well, of course, they're paid by NASA on a daily, hourly basis.
Indeed.
Hard logic.
As we all know, Galileo was part of the Nazi penguin conspiracy of 1600.
Cool Hard Logic recently put out a video about the upcoming solar eclipse and how obviously, I mean, there are no flat Earth models that can predict the solar eclipse or where it can be seen from and why and when the next one's going to be. And he challenges flat Earthers to do so. And I think that's a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, speaking of, glad you brought that up, by the way, I'm bringing Landon and Kurt Knoll back to talk about that lunar eclipse. That's on August 1st, I think it is. So you guys remember Landon Kurt Knoll, that computer scientist, the guy that was really cool? No, you guys don't watch my stuff. Never mind. It's okay.
I do. I'm drinking. Calm down.
Yes, I remember.
One person.
None of them agree on the model of the solar eclipse. None of them agree on what a solar eclipse is caused by.
Magic.
Yeah.
Well, I think this guy's got one thing quite smart, which is he's recognised that the argument for I can't even remember the name of it now, the hiddenness argument for the non-existence of God. That sounds really too many words, but there's some argument. Divine hiddenness. There you go. I think he's identified that is a major problem with theology, and he's trying to attack it and say it's NASA's fault, which I absolutely adore his logic there. Because if you're going to have a conspiracy, you may as well go for the biggest.
I like the argument for divine
I think it's a big problem for theists, actually, but that's a different topic altogether.
Yeah, I do as well. I love it. Could you tell us what it is quickly, Seth?
The divine hiddenness is the divine hiddenness is the problem that back in the day God used to talk to a lot of people, and nowadays God is strangely silent. He doesn't talk to any. He doesn't have any kind of interactions. He's completely hidden from us compared to where it was like 2,000 years ago, where there seemed to be a lot of instances of God's interaction with people. So what
Burning
changed?
Shrubbery, very fond of that.
What changed in that?
Does no one watch
he never could get a tweet account.
Well, also the fact that back when God was talking to everybody, people were just like, "Oh, God lived up in the mountains," but then we got to the mountains and he wasn't there. So then they were like, "Oh, well, he's now in the sky." And then we got to the sky and he's not there. So got divine hiddenness also.
That's true. Yeah, it keeps receding. Whereas,
that he keeps hiding from us. That he's actively hiding from us as well. Like it's huge.
That's more of an argument in support of a premise than the argument from divine hiddenness. Divine hiddenness is actually the claim that, well, if God existed and he's all love and he wants everyone to come to know and enjoy him, then there shouldn't be any non-resistant non-believers. And I think everyone in this room who doesn't would consider themselves a non-reluctant non-believer.
They say they can't. They say there's no such thing as a non-reluctant non-believer. Or not resistant.
Right, they do. But I think that's the kind of the strength of the argument. The strength of the argument, I think, is the fact that it's anybody who, even people, okay, like they're Christians, right? She might say things like, God is so present in her life, denying him would be like denying her actual father, right, who raised her. Okay? And for some people that might be true, but everyone else, church on every Sunday, who've never felt that presence, this argument is going to call to them. It calls to every atheist, calls to every agnostic, it calls to every church-going Christian who hasn't felt that in their heart. And I think that's probably, opposed to most attestations, probably the truth about most Christians who go to church, that they haven't felt that presence really, and I think it really makes them doubt. Is that the case?
Yeah, you're talking about that one, Schellenberg's argument
From divine hiddenness, yeah. Specifically, his formulation of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a
Hey,
whole
we
other
have to
topic.
remember-
We've gone off the rails on this particular video. This video was so boring. We've actually gone
there
into
was
something
nothing-
interesting.
what was there to
Non-resistant
refute?
Non-believers and Schellenberg's defense of it. But yeah, that's a whole different topic. But sorry, straight.
I think to blame it.
Well, it was
blame
an okay one to bring in because the guy did put a stupid reference to the Psalms at the end of the thing. He was trying to slip God in through customs without declaring them again. So it's fair game. Go ahead, Simos. I'm sorry for stepping on you.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, again, he's addressing the point to blame it on NASA before the argument even comes up, which is what he's done all the way through. So, hey, I think it's wonderful that we've got to the end and he's gone. And the reason is because everybody wants to hide God. I think that is just tremendous finish. And, you know, I would pop my cork of champagne for such a speech if it came from a president.
It's amazing that Tom Paine managed to be skeptical of God before ever did he pull that one off in the 1790s. Really amazing.
Let's see. Oddly enough, we
all
have...
without CGI.
Alrighty,
yeah,
see.
well, obviously the Nazis were Catholic. Everybody knows that. So yeah.
I used to be a Catholic. What the hell makes us so evil? All right, we've got what 40. 30?
I think it's something to do with National Socialism and religion.
Maybe. All right.
Or right wing Catholicism. Yeah.
There appears to be about 30 seconds left. Let's let this garbage go.
Going other dimension, and that's it. They're basically kicking the side door out of the firmament because they can't go up. At any rate, all the links will be in the description. This is Richie from Boston, and I'm out. And one more time for the rest of the class. This is Harvard's website. This is a picture of the sunrise over the Earth from NASA.
Once again, let's take a look at an ordinary sunrise over the Earth. Everyone catch that? All right, shall we channel Russian vids? All right, I'll do it. Look at how fake that is. All right, very good. Next week we go right into homeopathy because I hate homeopathy. I've been itching to do some more of that. All right, let's see. About 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I kind of feel like you owe it to the chat right now, man. I feel like you owe it to the chat to promise, to pledge, to vow that we will do a homeopathy video, or that you will.
Yes, I definitely will. We will
next week.
We will do that very thing next week. It's just the only reason we deferred is because we had requests from the viewers, and I mean, we would. How much fun would we have just talking amongst ourselves?
That's true.
We do have to respond
I like the conversation of divine hiddenness, and you know, I think that's non-resistant unbelief is fascinating to me. That was the best part of the conversation.
Yeah, that whole thing, like is super interesting to me too, because and I vaguely hinted at it at the end of the last hangout last Friday, but I have spoken to Seitan Bruggencate, who's a presuppositionalist, and he believes he knows that I know, right? So
right.
He could
exactly. Don't you love that? Because I'm a non-believer, right? So I'm the perfect person. I have an absence of belief in God. That doesn't mean I'm an atheist. I just have an absence of belief. So that was what they were referring to. And so I am like evidence that God doesn't exist, if you want to use it that way.
No, actually, Steve,
every time I told him I didn't believe, he was just like, "No, you do believe." And I'm like, "Well, how do you know that?" He was like, "This book says it." I'm like, "Well, why do you trust the book?" And he's like, "I'm not going to trust the book with a non-believer." And I'm like, "Well, you just said I do believe, so let's talk about this book." And then
I love that. Isn't that awesome?
His line every time is he'd be like, "That's a good point. Let me ask you a question." And then he would like just gish gallop through this.
You believe it, but you resist it. You're not aware of that. You believe it. So he needs to rephrase it that he doesn't want to have a Bible study or something with somebody who actively denies what they already know. That's what he needs to word it as.
Ed, have you ever had
jujitsu?
Have you ever had the joy of a conversation with Dawkins, the
Darwin's
You know what I'm
deity.
talking about?
Yeah.
Darwin's
Yeah,
deity.
yeah. Evolution folks.
We go, Simos, myself, Seth go back a long. We were back in the day when Darwin first got here. So yes, we know Darwin's very well.
That guy's like a hardcore pre-supper.
He's just an idiot. Have you seen Darwin's Greatest Hits latest video on him?
No,
it's freaking brilliant.
Oh, who are we talking about again?
Darwin's deity. Go watch Darwin's Greatest Hits last video on Darwin's. It was the guy put so much effort into it is ridiculous. It's called Darwin's deity versus Batman versus Robin, or Batman. Darwin's deity versus Batman versus what was it?
Yeah, hang on a sec, Steve. He's also known as Darth Dawkins, and this one is Darth Dawkins versus whatever.
Darth Dawkins versus Superman versus Batman.
That's it. It was so good.
And the irony is that they pay less attention to debating atheists than with the majority of the planet that are religious but don't believe in their particular God. Because whatever God you are, what you want to favor, most of the people on Earth don't believe it now and never have, and that's the bigger block that they need to deal with. Forget us atheists. We're a minor blip on the scope.
Actually, we did this video. We should watch that video instead. It's at least counterpoint, at least something of interest. It's just that good.
Well, also, we should just... what were you going to say about Dido? Darwin's dildo. What were you going to say about him?
Oh, I was just saying that he's kind of the Psi 10 camp as far as
he's one of the...
Yeah, but he's worse because he doesn't... Darwin's has a script. And if you engage with him enough, you know his script pretty easily. And so once you get him off script, he is completely lost.
It's not so much Psy's script, it's Greg Bonstein's script.
Yeah, he's a Bonstein fanatic.
I dealt with ones with the Rolodex.
No,
yeah, there was a poor little schnook.
How long is this? Are we in the last 10 seconds yet?
We're
Yeah,
done.
let's finish this up.
We're done. All right, let's let this end. And yeah, we are actually... Oh, nice call. We are in exactly... That was a nice call. Exactly the last 10 seconds.
She's
Didn't
a
notice
witch.
anything that's missing?
Burn the red.
Exactly. They didn't use the fisheye lens this time. Like, share, subscribe, or don't.
4,
I'm out.
3, 2.
There you go. That's it. 26-23.
That was rejected.
That would be the end of
Yeah,
that
sure.
foolishness. And actually, it's not bad to have a self-refuting video like this, because look at all the other conversations that were had during this. I mean, they were all very interesting. And just to make everybody feel a little bit better, here's Buster the Atheist Pug when he was a baby. Okay. Just throwing that in there. And yes, he was an
Need
atheist
more
even back.
pictures of the pug. I'm just saying.
Oh, the pug rocks. All right.
Yes.
All right. I actually have...
Sounds like a Van Halen song.
I actually have a nice supply of homeopathic videos to select from for next week. So I absolutely promise next week...
Wait, how can a video be homeopathic? You just don't watch it?
Yes.
Dilute it down to 1 second.
Black screen? It's a one pixel?
One frame.
Pixel.
Well,
The first and last
pixel and then
frame
you throw
is
that
very
pixel away?
So brush up on your terminology of, like 40x and...
The less you watch of it, the more you learn about homeopathy.
Absolutely.
There you go. Exactly. There you go. Bingo. The less you watch, the more you learn.
That is how it worked. Now,
And a couple of interesting things then quickly is they did try it in the National Health Service, and a lot of people presented this as evidence that it was true. Of course, what they were doing in the National Health Service is saying to doctors, if you want to try and prescribe placebos, right, and you think they'll work, you're allowed to do it now for a little while as a test, right? So that's what was behind it. And then
placebos do work.
And then placebos work, of course, and they gave the doctors license to try placebos with some of their patients if they so desired. And one of those trying was homeopathic remedy, which they tried as a placebo.
But
And that
homeopathy
in no
doesn't
way,
claim...
and that in no way, let me finish, Steve, and that in no way kind of validates homeopathy in any way.
No,
right?
no, it doesn't at all. And what people understand is homeopathy doesn't claim the placebo effect. That they claim it works because of dilution concentrations. They believe that water has memory, right? So it has, even if they subscribe, If they prescribe the homeopathy to demonstrate a placebo effect, if the true proponents of homeopathy are not going to even want to utilize that because they don't want to they want to avoid that placebo claim. They want to
Yeah,
actually say
they're claiming that their thing does better than a placebo.
They
Right.
claim
That's where
actual
they-
science.
It's delusion increases potency, and like cures like. Those are the two main foundations of homeopathy. Does anybody know? And that brings me to it. Does anybody know any homeopathy jokes? Because I know the one.
Go ahead.
Homeopathy, the belief that dumping Osama bin Laden's corpse into the ocean cured the world of terrorism.
I like that.
I was just add on to the end of mine quickly, which was I posted a link in the side there of a program on the UK, which was Homeopathy A&E, a view of the future if we actually embraced this kind of science as medicine. So it's a kind of a parody, really, but it's quite funny. So be a nice starter if you could post that in somewhere.
Which you just posted that now in
Oh no, I posted it a little while ago because when we first started the topic, I thought, oh yeah, here we go.
I will put it in the.
It's absolutely hilarious.
Here, let me put it in. Let me just copy it down now so I don't lose it, and we'll put that in the description.
They must have shaken the Indian Ocean the wrong number of times, says Fina 3000.
No, they forgot to delete the Indian Ocean.
All right, very good. Now, see, this first video was supposed to be so self-refuting that it was supposed to take us just about 5 minutes over. It was supposed to take us about 30 minutes to cover.
We're 3 hours in.
Oh,
yes, we are 3 hours in. So I would propose, of course, you guys get to decide. I would propose that we not move on to Flat Earth Asshole, whose video is actually 48 minutes and 46 seconds.
Oh God!
And you know how
about we just watch Darth Jarkins versus Batman versus Superman, and everybody be happy.
you know how frequently we call drink with Flat Earth Asshole. I would suggest, and like I said, you guys make the decision, that we move on to Shameless Plugs. What say you? You guys can call it.
I am not. I can't do 40. 40 minutes would take 5, 6, 7 hours.
Really,
right
that will be ridiculous. I propose we move on and go on to the Shameless Plugs portion of the show. All opposed? Hearing none.
I mean, screw it. I'll oppose. I mean, I'll lose.
I have one opposition. I think that people, if they're going to plug something of themselves, should also plug something that they enjoy that is not theirs that they think should be plugged.
Well,
I've been trying to. Darth Dawkins versus Batman versus Superman. Dara's Greatest Hits channel. Go subscribe to him. The guy's it's brilliant. It's 3 minutes of your life that you're going to be in total ecstasy. It's amazing, especially if you know the players.
We're going to do something.
I'll go next.
We're going to do something different this time. Normally it's everybody send me information. I'll put it in the description, and it's either I never get stuff or I get stuff and I'm still have a hangover from you guys calling drink every 30 seconds. And it never gets in. So this time, while doing Shameless Plugs, if you guys don't mind, put it into our internal chat. I will copy it down right now, so there's no possibility of it getting lost or somebody not sending it or me not, catching it tomorrow or something of that sort. So Steve will make sure to have that link. That is not a bad idea. Alrighty then. Let us commence. And is Paul still in the public chat? Paul, hop in here. You got to plug yourself.
We can plug Paul.
Yeah, we can. We could, and I certainly know his channel. So, all right, Paul, if you're busy, we'll plug you. If not, hop on in. But starting with the panel,
Yep.
Cara, you're gonna love this. You're up first. Tell us how cool you are, and if you got any links to put up in the description, throw them into our chat, and I will copy them in.
Well, I've given this in other episodes of yours. So, Rhetoric and Discourse just did a video that I was featured as a guest. So, two birds with one stone, per that person's request of promoting somebody else's stuff. At the same time, yes, that. So let me find this
Okay.
video and link it to you. This one here. First spliff into space. Over that
Alrighty
video.
then.
It's a flat Earth video by ODD TV, and it covers the whole lens distortion thing. And he shows footage where the horizon is actually flat because of the lens distortion, and he deceivably claims that there's no, like he's saying, no fisheye lens very clearly. Anyway, yeah, it's a video on that.
Alrighty then. Very good. Eat.
Oh
You're
yeah, I'm
up.
over on Earth this time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cara. Was there more?
And I'm over on Earth Discussions all the time. You can find me over there.
Alrighty then. Eat. You're up.
Cool. Name's Eat Meal. I have been working on the turbo incubulator, or whatever that thing was. Been working on that for about 15 years. Got a bunch of videos about how you can make one. It'll really change your life when you reconfigure the doob on the thing, and then you floginate the flig the whatever.
Drink.
Can't call drink on my plug. No, I'm like almost literally a nobody. I don't have any videos at all. Although I've been thinking about doing them. Yeah, I know, super interesting, right? We can move on. I do want to plug though. Apologia. I mean, if he's not going to jump in and plug himself.
Oh, nice.
I'm a pretty big fan of Paul. Love his videos. I tend to like watch him at work. Just throw him up on like the second monitor. So he has a very soothing voice there, Paul.
See, I'm of the opposite opinion. I just detest Paul because he makes better videos than I do.
We got video envy.
I mean, maybe it's because you got Paul on your team, but I'm really enjoying y'all's Genesis history thing.
Oh, glad you like it, and
you even had the good sense to get RJ into one of your videos. So I mean, it's working out.
How could I resist? the wealth of knowledge could not resist. All right. Anything else, sir? Or shall I move on?
Oh no, that's it. Just tip your bartender.
Rockin'. Very good. All right. Epistemology. Let's hear from you. Tell us how cool you are, what you do, and all that sort of thing. And put a link up in our chat.
Yeah, I don't really have a link. Yeah, I don't really put too much content up. I just pretty much just debate flat earthers. You'll find me in the intellectual bastions of You've Been Exposed and Brother Sanchez and all those lovely places of thinking minds.
Gotcha.
Who are so accepting of other people's ideas.
There's enough idiots to go around.
There does seem to be a large supply, doesn't there? All right, Steve. Why were you looking at me when you said that? All right.
How do you know when my eyes are focused right now?
I'm looking at your image. You're looking right at me. All right.
That's the point. You're looking at me too. It's kind of creepy.
Are you looking?
I am creepy like that. Yeah, actually.
Wait till RJ starts talking. You see the creepy little dude behind him. All right. Thank you.
That's my homunculus.
Your homunculus. Very good. RJ, tell us about you. Tell us how cool you are, and then throw a link in our private chat, and I will include that.
Well, I put the links up on there. I don't feel particularly cool. I don't feel particularly successful at anything. I will poke at Eat there. He's got both of my books. Have you read any more of them since the last time you spoke?
It's because of the WannaCry stuff. It's been a super busy work week for me, so I haven't had enough time. Because I like to, I don't like to read like a couple of pages and then move on. But I have gotten a couple more chapters in. But the Paralogs of Phileas Fogg.
Oh, okay. Where are you up to?
Man, I knew I should have just left. I knew I was going to get quizzed.
Yeah.
I'm preening writer who needs feedback. I'm curious.
I will give you all the feedback when I have a bigger scope of it.
Yeah, you see,
So, but I mean,
okay.
Listen, I am enjoying it so far. I do think it's really cool, but I just don't.
I'm knee
I
deep
don't know.
in the sequel as we speak. That's what keeps my brain from frying from worry at night. And so after I'm finished here, I will be venturing forth to all the adventures that the Fog and company are doing in Australia in the 1870s. Thereby hangs a tale.
Hmm. Alrighty then. RJ, is it too early to mention anything about our your proposed project, the RJ's Evolution Hour?
Oh, well, I'm just itching whenever you want to get the thing going because I've
Very
been
good.
ready to rip at any moment. You know how good
Very
I
good.
am at improv. I can get started on it.
Very good.
All you got to do is to set up the format and set up a good time. I don't know whether or not you want to have it to where it's good for the European audience or whatever. I may have to blast myself out of bed early to do that sort of stuff, but I'm open for anything and all topics that want to be discussed. I'd love to have the same kind of format here where we're getting information coming in from people watching, but not necessarily on cam, that are just putting up topics that we can jaw back and forth and try to learn more about things and show how sound method is something that applies to everywhere, and it's really damn useful and helpful.
Exactly. Very good. So that would be approval then. We do mention RJ's Evolution Hour then.
Yeah, when do we start? Damn it.
After the show, we will do some more. We've been meaning to talk about this for the last week or so, right, RJ?
Yes.
We need to get the it's going to be a similar format to what we're doing right now. It's going to be sort of a call-in show kind of format. Look for that in the very near future. And RJ bugged me on that because life is very busy these days, and if you don't bug me, I'll do other stuff. Alrighty. Anything else you'd like to add before we move on, sir?
Oh gosh, other than the fact that I've got the more help, I sure would love to have a patron on the Patreon, but so far there's been zip on that. The GoFundMe, the books, that no one will be disappointed by the books in there, and I'd love to enjoy some of my posthumous fame while I'm still alive, which is who knows.
Very good. Well, as soon as we're done here and after we converse, I will personally head over to the Patreon page. I would encourage everyone else to do the same. Alrighty. Seth, how about you? Tell us how cool you are and where we can find you and everything you do.
You can't.
Okay.
I don't really produce a lot of content. I like to show up on other people's channels and just act smug.
All right. Well, if you're not going to plug yourself, I'm going to plug you. Seth is cool. There you go.
If you guys want to check out some cool channels, Steve McRae's channel is pretty cool. Same with Skylar Fiction and Darwin's Greatest Hits.
Ah. Yeah, and if there are any links you would like to add to have in the description of the video, just post them in in the internal chat here, and I will add them. Alrighty, very good. Simos, on to you. Tell us about you, if you don't mind.
Okay, cool. Well, I've just stuck a link in the side for later. It's a track. Please go give it thumbs up, give it subs, give it anything you like, or comments would be really appreciated. But I'd say subscribe to Steve's channel. He has really top quality guests on there. Definitely do some Patreon for him, because the more he gets the channel going, then the better the guests will get.
Yep.
And that's all appreciated. And it's a fantastic channel. The community is holding everything together right now, so give that support as well. And yeah, peace and love.
Excellent, and thank you also for joining us. All right, Steve. As if there's anyone that doesn't know you.
Wow, such kind words. Yeah, wow. Well, I'm Steve McRae. I run the Great Debate Community. I'm the host and the owner of the forum, which I posted the link in the I'll post it again in the chat there for you. Seth is a member. He's actually one of my moderators. Simos is a member. Strike, you're a member of the Great Debate community. RJ and Cara have yet to join, although I've extended them invitations. I don't know, but if you want to click on that, I can prove you right now. But my channel is dedicated to debunking all kinds of different things like young Earth creationism, flat Earth, any of the nonsense stuff. But more importantly, my channel is dedicated to having conversations. We bring in very, very knowledgeable people. We have a collection of several dozens and dozens of PhDs, and then we bring in people like Dr. Hugh Ross, Dr. Fuzz Rana, Dr. Mary Schweitzer, Arn Ra, PZ Myers, and we just have conversations with them. So my channel is the place to go if you want to have an actual conversation with actual people that know what they're talking about and discuss the issues on a intellectual level where you won't be silenced, you won't be moderated to the point where you can't have a voice. We like to have all people, theist, atheist, believer, non-believer, it doesn't matter. It's just people coming in and talking. So that's what my room's for. And I do have a Patreon. My Patreon is pretty decent right now, so I can't really have a little Patreon drive. If people want to donate $1 a month, that's great. I'm very happy for that. But I'm doing okay on my Patreon. So if somebody is needing it more, donate to them. But if someone wants to do $1 per month, I'm cool with that, right? But anyways, the channels that I want to plug are Holy Kool-Aid, who I had a guest on last week. He has about 23,000 subscribers. Really, really great videos. Just talking about secularism. And the other one would be Dragnaut Silvas, which is a guy who's double major in biology, and I forget the other thing he's majoring, but just he's just has awesome videos, just ranting on things and talking. So those are my 2 plugs.
Well, very good. You wouldn't happen to have links handy for those, would you?
I have a link to Holy Kool-Aid, and I can get you one for Dragnaut. So just check out Holy. Yeah, that's Holy Kool-Aid's, and tell him Steve sent you.
Okay.
And I'll get you Dragnaut Silvas in a second here.
Is that
perfect?
Holy Kool-Aid will give you 15% off. Unfortunately, Draggle had 30% on. So.
Sai, I just sent you another one.
Got it.
My YouTube channel.
Got
I'm
it.
gonna put that one in there.
Fear not.
And like I said, RJ and Cara, if you want to join the Great Debate community, you're more than welcome to.
I'm trying to find my way over there to figure out what I need to do.
You just click this says join. We've got, by the way, we're up to 625 members, so that's pretty good.
To be honest, I joined it, but I don't know. I just don't feel engaged enough.
It also gives you a place where at least you know what's going on in the community, like when people are running hangouts or anything like that.
Usually I prefer talking, so it'd probably be better to just join your hangout or whatever.
Yeah, but I post in there when I'm having my hangouts. I do run my hangouts 3 days a week. I have one every Sunday for certainty, and then the other 2 do vary. But we have a pretty decent promo. Have you seen the Walking Dead parody promo that Garvin's Greatest Hits did for us?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's 41 seconds. Can we watch it? It's so good.
I'll tell you what.
I don't see a join here.
There's 3 or 4 of those cinematic parodies that are really, really good.
Steve, is that the link you just sent now?
No, that's the link. This is the promo to the Great Debate community. If anybody's interested in joining, this is our promo, or one of our promos. We're going to have another one coming out here soon.
All right, give me a second. I'm still copying links from you fine folks. And let's see. I think I have.
Oh, that's Darwin's thing. Oh.
All right.
So we're trying to get as many members that we want as we can to join the community. It's an amazing thing that people can get together and talk about all kinds of different subjects, from philosophy to science, theology.
All right, does this look about right? There we go.
Yep.
Everyone see that? Very good. Here's the promo. Wait a minute. Are you going to get me DCMA'd?
No, I've asked if I can just. that brilliant?
That's pretty nice.
That's
That was
pretty good,
huh? All righty. Well, let's see here. That has covered. Oh wait, we failed to rave about Paulagia. I've already mentioned I'm very angry at Paul for having videos better than mine. So everybody go see Paul, especially the Is Genesis History Science series.
It's so good.
Which we've been working very hard on. And
It's so good, guy. It's I love it. Sidestrike. It's really really good.
I'm honestly the the ability to do that almost makes it worth sitting through that goddamn movie. That's so. As you recall, I went to the actual theater and sat with a theater full of creationists.
I would have just.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, but yeah. So. Anyone else want to rave about Paul since he's not present? Okay, everyone just say Paul rocks, huh?
Paul rocks.
There you go. Yeah. Jesus, I gotta pull it out.
Paul's hair is made of angel hair pasta.
Yeah, no, you won't get a copyright strike. I played this video all the time on my videos. I've never got a copyright strike on it.
All right, very good.
In the worst case, all it does is they get the monetary if you're monetized. Big deal.
All righty. Well, very good. Thus endeth the Shameless Plugs, and I hope everyone listened to everyone who gave one. And unless anyone has anything else, I believe it is time to bring on the Pug. Any objections?
Pug.
All right. Here comes the Pug. That really was a pointless video, wasn't it?
Really.
It was pretty much self-refuting.
I'd call it self-refuting if I felt it made any claims. Like he just seemed to just babble on endlessly.
It's like, here, go watch this other video that says this.
Claiming atheism on NASA is pretty fucking great, I've got to say. That is not my name.
His motto is don't be a Nazi, support collateralism.
Oh yeah, no, that's how I'm gonna win every argument with my girlfriend now. What do you mean you don't want to watch The Expanse? Are you supporting Nazis? No, watching The Expanse.
I win. Watch Sidestrike's channel if you want to be a Nazi.
Hey, my dad was 10th Mountain Division. We don't do Nazis.
Never mind the quality, just look at the length.
Mustard says I hate Nazis.
This is possibly one of the best motorcycling songs ever invented. Oh yeah, Fino, he made no points. Fino, you're right. He made no points whatsoever.
Oh yeah, no, that was a joke I laughed at earlier. Fino was like, I'm still waiting on him to make his first point.
Yeah.
We had already finished the video and we're doing plugs.
He never did make any
Look at that happy Pug face.
He does look like a happy Pug.
Best part of the song, too.
Oh, gross.
Yes, Paul, I think this song is good for motorcycling.
Just be careful.
Thanks for coming, everybody.